The closing of a short West Coast swing makes a gamble with fate, as a trip to the Sin City awaits a field of many in the run-up to the halfway mark of the campaign. We're live from virtual Las Vegas Motor Speedway. The Cable and Racing Network welcomes you to race number 5 in the Season 4 SAAC Cup Series as we roll on through the season. So happy to have you join us on the Cable and Racing Network tonight. We're alongside Francisco Bacalhau in the booth. I am Kenneth Bueno. Well, Francisco, you held down the fort for a little while. I was gone for a couple weeks. You broadcasted the Sonoma race just last Thursday. You were able to cover some of the DTH Cup Series races as well, but it's a return to another mile and a half. We had a stunner at Charlotte just 2 weeks ago. We jump into Vegas, which seems to be, with the new next-gen update and with this new refresh, still new territory for the drivers.
Yeah, happy to be here, Kenneth. I missed you. Missed you being in the booth here. I was able to do a good job while you were. But everybody is going to be glad to see you up here and welcome us back to some action here from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. First time we're here with this brand new revamped version of the racetrack with the brand new updates, the next gen cars. So very excited to see how we have a race perform on our hands here as you get a look at the schedule. We had Sonoma last week that I covered, Charlotte, our first event for this series, which was the third race of the season, and then we moved to Indianapolis next week. That should be a fun one to cover from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and then we take a couple of weeks off before we end up in Iowa. So the month of July, we won't be seeing a lot of racing, but Indianapolis, a big one next week.
It will be monumental, and I will say, these tracks upcoming, they will look very good. Las Vegas tonight, Indianapolis got a share of refresh as well. Still waiting to see whether we're going to run the refreshed and repaved version of the Iowa Speedway, or if we are going to stick to the old 2011 scan. We'll keep an eye on what the admins tell us at the SAAC Cup Series, but should we expect a brand new repaved Iowa surface, we'll see 3 brand new looking racetracks to which we haven't seen before on the Cable and Racing Network, right before and in between that 2-week summer break before we're back, and then we go to All-Star Racing at the Bluegrass State in Kentucky as we chase on to the madness in the midway portion of the regular season, and of course before we get into the Eliminator chase that brings on the finale down in race 18 at the Virtual Auto Club Speedway. Well, this being our second mile-and-a-half race of the season, our second and final of the West Coast swing. Last week, we were just on the other side of the state, actually in California, in a different state. Sonoma County hosted our last race, first and only road course race of this first segment of the season. Dahari and Connor Trafari led us through turns 1 and 2. Francisco, you got a good look at how all of this developed, but this seemed to be the biggest move. Lap number 9, early move, down in turn 11, send to the 72 car. Jafar would bully his way to the lead, and he would never look back.
Yeah, he made that move eventually after biding his time, and once he took this race lead, he never lost it, and he slowly started to pull away from Dahari. And even though there was some possible battles looming with Duran and Hyder, after green flag pit stops, it was all Connor Trafari all the way through the checkered flag to take his first win of the season, en route to a dominating performance as he celebrated there in Gilligas Island, Kenneth. And it was good battles up and down the field, all sorts of running positions and different spots that I was watching. Some great racing going on from Sonoma. I haven't covered a race at Sonoma in, I think, going back to 4 wide in season number 6 with the Xfinity car, but that was the first time I ever seen the next gen in action from the sim for a proper race. So yeah, I'm glad it was able to deliver with the brand new updates with the road coursing as we saw at Watkins Glen as well for dropping the hammer, and now we get to see some more oval action with this new car.
And what a breakthrough it was for Connor Trafari. Just his second career SAAC Cup Series victory, first of the season, and his first win in this series since Nashville Super Speedway back in season number 3. So for Trafari, what a big turnaround it was after starting basically at the back of the field at Charlotte Motor Speedway, had to work his way up to the field and ultimately ended up 28th. Wasn't exactly the run he was looking for there. The last mile-and-a-half race of the season. Now the road course win in his bag, probably going to be a good sign of momentum as he jumps into tonight's race from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. But we look at the last time we were at a mile-and-a-half. It was just 2 short weeks ago at Charlotte Motor Speedway. The man that stood amongst them all, Ethan Fonseca Moreno, stunned the field at Michigan after getting the lead in the last couple of laps, and this is the setup to the victory at America's home for racing in NASCAR's backyard. This was the final run. In the final few laps, Malachi Drake staying out. Huffing and puffing was Ethan Fonseca Moreno, charging in within a second and less, and then off of the final corner, Drake runs out of gas. Moreno squeezes by to the outside, and Francisco, we were in disbelief at how this race ended. Drake just a bit short, and then Moreno stepping away with his second consecutive SAAC Cup Series victory, third career after winning at Michigan earlier on this season. So I guess safe to say, if there's any driver to look for at these mile-and-a-half racetracks, particularly now that we're on the West Coast, we're a bit closer to Moreno's home. So the driver on fire, going to be looking for win number 3 this year.
Yeah, he had a good time out at Charlotte, one of his favorite racetracks on the sim, and was able to lead a lot of the race. And then that right there, that battle with Malachi Drake, who was trying to save the fuel, just not enough in it for his number 90 machine, and ran out of fuel there in turn 4. Moreno squeaked by for the win. All-time classic finish that was from the Charlotte Motor Speedway. He wasn't with us last week at Sonoma, so he's still looking for another win on the season, and in his 3 starts he has 2 wins, so he's looking to make that 3 out of 4 here tonight, which I believe he is in the session right now. But we're getting ready for the race here soon. We've only had 3 winners so far, Kenneth. When you look at the winners in this series so far, we've had Wyatt Roberts get the Daytona win, Moreno, as we mentioned, again in Charlotte, and now Connor Trafari last week at Sonoma. So are the odds high here at Vegas with the big changes that we could see a 4th different winner on the season?
We may just in fact see the odds switch. I mean, the drivers were talking about the loose Vegas condition, not really there anymore with this new next-gen update. With the way this Las Vegas Motor Speedway handles, it's definitely more of an understeery feeling, and as we get a probably hot track temperature here in the Nevada desert virtually, we should see that either alter completely, or maybe it'll be the same note that we'll end up singing by the time the checkered flag comes out here in Las Vegas. Well, we have to talk about gambling. This is the Sin City after all, and our good friend Alex Schumacher has been putting things together on the odds side of things. We're not actually putting money on any of this, but this is Shuey Sportsbook, which he puts together every single week, tries to dial in the odds, the drivers that are the favorites, and what do you know, Francisco Moreno is at the top of the board. 2 race wins this season, including that recent win at our last mile-and-a-half race of the campaign. He's plus 750, although his teammate Gabriel Dehari isn't so far behind, plus 850 for him. Trafari winning last week at Sonoma, he's up only plus 900, and then you've got plenty of big names in the middle of that. Steven Maggio, the defending winner here at Las Vegas, won the finale last season at this track, plus 1,050. Amir Bascom, who was in a heavy fight with Maggio in the waning laps and ended up finishing runner-up in that race, he is plus 1,200. I will just implore, and I will say for legal purposes, Francisco, this is not to actually bet money on. This is just for fun that Alex Schumacher likes to put in a generative system. But if you were to put your money, if you were to stack your chips, I'll tell you, put your money on somebody. Who would it be for tonight?
I'm going on to Hard Rock Bet right now, and I'm putting some cold hard cash on Ethan Fonseca Moreno, that favorite. Maybe I can parlay that into something else to try and get some more winnings. But I mean, there's a reason he's at the top of the board. Kenneth won our last mile-and-a-half race, has 2 wins on the season, is our points leader. There's good reason to believe that he'll be one to contend with for tonight. But anybody on that list, and even some that might not be on this list, are going to be ones to look out for. An underrated drive could come from Steven Maggio. He loves this racetrack. Won the season finale last season, as you mentioned, but also he won the season finale in the Slide Job Racing Series here a couple of months ago as well with the refreshed version of Las Vegas. So Steven Maggio and this new Las Vegas Motor Speedway go hand in hand. Keep an eye out for the 51.
You know, Francisco, my history is not really good when going to the casino, so I don't think I'm gonna place a crazy bet. I'll just go with the favorite. If it's whoever's at the top, it's whoever's at the top. I would lose my money.
Did you go to any casinos now? Did you go to any casinos these weeks?
You know, I was tempted. I'm not gonna lie. I was tempted to go to the blackjack table, but no, I thought better of it. I knew if I put any money down on that table, it would go away in an instant. So I'm deciding against that in my better judgment. But drivers are sitting behind the iRacing official pace car right as we speak. And as we get down to it, let's get to your starting grid for tonight's race from the virtual Las Vegas Motor Speedway, where it is career pole number 1 in the SAAC Cup Series career for Malachi Drake, trying to right his wrongs from 2 weeks ago at Charlotte. After finishing runner-up with a saving strategy, he'll line it up with a 30.127, And what a qualifying effort for our good friend Alexander Schumacher. Puts his number 68 Ford Mustang on the outside of row number 1. AJ Hyder rolls off from 3rd. Jamie Wright in the 38 car will roll off from P4. Cody Rivera's his number 36 lines up inside the top 5 with Ellis Wells in the 57 P6. Right in P7 is where you'll find Gabriel Dahari in his 72 car. He's got Nicholas Budimlik in the number 60 car on the outside in position number 8 before you find those last 2 in the top 10. Brad Sawinski, his number 28 car, and Brandon Thomas in the 7.
Michael Walls rolls off from 11th with Stephen Maggio in the 12th spot. 13th goes to Declan George with Quincy Strawhacker in the 14th spot. Andretti Robinson rolls off from 15th with Nicholas Borowski in the 16th spot. Christopher Robinson will be in the 17th position. Austin Mady in the 01 will be rolling off from the 18th position. Ollie Reeves in 19th with Ethan Fonseca starting deep inside this top 20 as the rest of your starting grid will scroll on through the bottom side of your screen. You'll get to see where the rest of this 34 car field rolls off, Kenneth, as the pace car is getting ready to go to turn 4 and make that safe entry onto pit road and unleash this field to the green flag.
And it is a very interesting front row. Malachi Drake, his first ever pole in his SAAC Cup Series career, and Alexander Schumacher with perhaps his best start in a SAAC Cup Series race that he's ever run. 34 cars here from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Drake and Schumacher lead him off of turn 4. Let's go racing for the 5th time this season from Las Vegas.
And what I noticed there already, Kenneth, through turns 1 and 2, especially here in 3 and 4, we're seeing a lot of 3 wide, deep in the pack, a lot of action moving up all the way down the racetrack. There's 3 wide for 3rd with Jamie Wright peeking to the outside of Alex Schumacher, who's down to 3rd at the end of the opening lap, down to 4th now as they continue to battle.
Schumacher trapped on the outside, was just about in the middle of 3 wide action. Cody Rivera's down low. Gabriel Zahari, that yellow and black Chevrolet, just stepping into the top 5 with Wright right behind as Drake continues to lead this group after the opening lap or 2. AJ Hyder finds his way to 2nd. Rivera still trying to shut down the run from Schumacher off of turn 4. And while they were just about 2 by 2 through the entire field, they settle things out for the first 3 laps. And still going down between 3rd on back, Schumacher fighting to the outside again.
The outside could definitely carry a lot more momentum here around this racetrack, especially in 3 and 4. You can probably see the track get a lot wider on that end of the racetrack. Schumacher, watch him as he goes to the high side. That lane will eventually build up all the way next to the wall with how tight the bottom can get. So right there, you see Dahari is able to clear him. A couple guys nearly scrape the outside wall further back. But you can see that outside groove play a role in this long run if guys are really finding a trouble spot on the inside of the racetrack. And speaking of 1 and 2, running at the very bottom, those famous bumps exist here. So you guys will probably try to stay off of the very bottom lane of the racetrack just to not upset the race car and try and stay off those bumps.
You read my mind there. I was just about to mention the oscillation you face down on the inside of turns 1 and 2. It is volatile, and with a hot track temperature, you got lack of grip anyway, so the bumps will basically make it 100 times harder to rotate your car through the corner. And what we've seen through a lot of the test sessions, some of the practice races held here at Las Vegas in the weeks leading up to this race tonight, a lot of it after the iRacing build, which featured the new aero updates and the tire update with the NASCAR Next Gen car, a lot of the drivers are talking about how this car and this track particularly runs tighter than before. Before you would burn off the right rear tire and the car would step out of line. Now it's more about protecting the right front tire, and as the field washes up out of turn 4, good demonstration of how these cars handle, especially in the middle of traffic. Good battle for P12 right now. Nicholas Budimlik in the number 60 car. Troner Trafari, the number 9 on the outside for 12th. That is the Sonoma Raceway winner from last Thursday night. Got a huge boost of momentum. 28th, like we said earlier, at the last mile-and-a-half race from Charlotte, where kind of felt like it was a back-and-forth effort for Trafari all race long, but qualified comfortably in tonight's race, stepping into the top 15 with defending Vegas winner Stephen Maggio to the inside of Michael Walls for top 10.
And early on, it's a bit of a struggle for the 92 of Ethan Fonseca. Started 20th, and he's actually lost a few positions. He's down in about 22nd right now in a stacked battle with Austin Mitty, Christopher Robinson, and Amir Bascom. In the Tootsie's number 92, there's his teammates a little bit further back, and Jaden Porter's been able to make up some spots. There's the onboard with Trafari as he tries to navigate his way through into the top 10. And Jaden Porter, Kenneth, has actually made a really decent start, had a good opening set of runs in this race, was starting last, dead last in the field, 34th. He's already driving his way up through to the top 25. In the middle of 3 wide, he's being aggressive, trying to make moves as there's nearly contact. Look at the moves he's making through the middle.
He's trying to find his way through, and Porter, in just his second SAAC Cup Series start this season, like we mentioned, Francisco, you told me before we went on air that he started nicely at Sonoma, but then just made a mistake, and then by that point just disconnected from the race and said that he basically had enough. But the Kentucky native trying to slice his way through the field in the opening 8 here from Las Vegas, which is more than a green flag run to which we saw at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Plenty of yellows in the opening segment before we got to halfway, and then once we did, boy, did that race open up dramatically between the green flag strategies across the board and what led to the phenomenal end to the race between Drake's number 90 car and Moreno's number 92. We'll keep an eye on Moreno's teammate in Porter as he makes his first oval start this season, but battle for second on the left side of your screen. Cody Riveras getting the best of AJ Hyder after a quick mistake out of turn 4, and the 36 car finds his way to second. What a jump it's been for the Lift Golf number 36 Ford Mustang of Rivera. Still has a bit of gap left to go, 0.8 of a second before he catches up to Drake.
And that's the second lap in a row, Kenneth, that I'm sure you saw a car off of turn 2 just lose it and go down to the apron. The 01 of Austin Mitty saved it, lost a couple of positions, but now Joseph went down pit road to be able to save the race car and not lose a whole lot of time. So turn 4, despite the racetrack being a lot tighter now than it was before, clearly being a little bit loose to some drivers.
Well, we see the hot track temperature here at Las Vegas. It isn't necessarily forgiving, 121 degrees Fahrenheit, and usually admins at league owners, what they try to do with updates to the next-gen car, updates to the racing surface on iRacing, is that they'll play with the track temp, they'll play with the weather a lot in order to change the nature of this car in the middle of traffic and draft it. Yeah, it's 16 miles an hour, nearly 17 miles an hour blowing to the south. I saw the flags in the middle of the neon garage to which they 3D modeled the flags here at Las Vegas, and now they do blow in the direction that the wind is in the sim, and they were going crazy. You could see them, they were wild in the middle of the neon garage. But yeah, the track temperature at 121 degrees, now 122, something that the league owners try to do on purpose to loosen up the race cars and make them not as tight as a lot of them faced during either practice or in the test races run in the weeks prior. 3-car battle inside the top 8. Stephen Maggio to the inside of the 57 of Ellis Wells. And then right in front of them, the 45 of Andretti Robinson. That is a Charlie XCX Brat car that we're seeing right now. I don't think I've ever seen a car themed out to Charlie XCX's recent album, but here we are, the Brat car running 7th, and defending race winner and defending champion Stephen Maggio trying to get to the inside. Wells hitting the outside wall. Maggio to the inside before turn 1.
Is that competition to Kyle Benson with the Sabrina Carpenter car?
I don't know. That's 2 different genres. Brat is more like, what is it, house music, electronic music. Sabrina's more like pop. You know, I mean, based on how popular they both are right now and how they've been over the last year, popularity-wise, yeah, you probably make it a rivalry.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle Benson certainly. I think Keelan enjoyed making the reference he did to Kyle Benson during the Nashville race, but Benson didn't quite understand the reference at the moment. As there you see 3 wide, Stephen Maggio to the inside, trying to make the move on both of him and Jamie Wright to move up into 6th, possibly. Stephen Maggio slowly but surely making progress in this race, and I talked about it during those odds sections that Stephen Maggio, ever since they refreshed this racetrack, has just enjoyed it a lot. He's been able to have some good runs, and don't count him out. He's going to slowly work his way through the field. You see him stack a little bit of air on the 45 to get him sideways, and that's something we're going to see all race long. It's something we saw a little bit at Charlotte, and I saw a lot of it at the Texas Motor Speedway this past Sunday, and we're going to see plenty of it here tonight. Drivers trying to stack the air to get the car in front of them loose.
just the method of playing games with this next-gen car, and Maggio having to do a lot more work than he did in the early segment of our last Las Vegas Motor Speedway race, the finale of Season 3, where Maggio rolled off in 6th, led 22 laps en route to the win and the eventual championship as he pushes forward on Andretti Robinson. Good battle for 6th, building up right now. But the other driver on the other end is Amir Bascombe, car number 21, running in 17th right now and looking in the rearview mirror to catch that 97 car of Jaden Porter, who is still making his comeback from the very rear of this field at the drop of the green flag. Bascombe led a whopping 65 total laps of the 134 last time we were here in Las Vegas, Nevada, but just came up short to Maggio in those final laps. It was a hefty battle between the two, but ultimately the tight-end Maggio ended up winning the fight. Bascombe looking for a recovery here this evening, and Bascombe rolled off 4th in that Vegas race last season. He'll try to work on Quincy Strawhacker, car number 49, right in front, in the battle for 16th.
How about the progress for Porter to get up into the 18th position right now behind Bascombe, who peeks to the outside of Strawhacker. I've noticed that Porter, when he tries making a pass or tries setting up a pass, he does go all the way up to the outside wall in turns 3 and 4 and sets up his front straightaway move to try and make these advances, and it's worked for him so far. He's got the 25 of Shockey Tarpley just behind him, and you see in front a group of cars ahead of Strawhacker, including Brandon Thomas, Ollie Reeves, Nicholas Podimlik. A couple of guys just outside the top 10 as Bascombe does get to the outside of Strawhacker, and he'll clear for the 16th position. And looking a little bit further back, this isn't one I have seen yet. The 26 of Rivers Jones, Kenneth, running a Visa Cash App Red Racing Bull paint scheme.
And he showed off maybe about 3 of those schemes in the hours leading up to tonight's race, and had positive reception from the driver base. A lot of them were saying that the car was a banger. It was heat paint scheme. There's a green version of this car that's more towards the Cash App theme, but Rivers Jones putting on a banger scheme tonight, looking for a comeback after what happened 2 weeks ago at Charlotte Motor Speedway, where he crashed early on in the quad oval off of turn 4 and suffered heavy suspension damage that basically eliminated him from any sort of good points. So we'll keep an eye on the 26 car. Meanwhile, battle for 3rd on the left side of your screen. Gabriel Dahari, AJ Hyder as they're pushing forward. We saw Rivera skip by the 48 car off of the Hyder mistake off turn 4, and now Dahari making the move to the inside with Schumacher right behind, steadily keeping 5th. However, they are starting to realize that both Steven Maggio and Andretti Robinson are catching up to the main group. So we may just see the level of competition start to hefty up as we get to the first 22 laps.
Oh, spin in the back. It's the 28, Brandon Sawiski. He spins through the inside.
And so far, no yellow. He skids through the grass, and he's able to save the race car. The Redwood Chevrolet ends up in a perilous situation, but he keeps it off of the trouble, and most importantly, stays off the racing surface. We will remain green flag racing for now as Malachi Drake continues to lead. Francisco, what happened here off of turn 4?
Looks like the 24, Michael Walls got tight, got into the outside wall, and nothing the 28 can do, just an innocent bystander.
And sliding through those rigorous bumps there at the Legends Oval part of the Vegas track, and ends up sliding to a stop right around that Pennzoil logo, and thankfully keeps his car without any other damage and didn't ricochet back up the racetrack. So we will stay green. Problem for him now, Sawinski has to deal with possibly being a lap down or more as he awaits possibly a yellow flag through the first 23. Here comes AJ Hyder. Look to the inside on Cody Rivera's pass made. And although we did see some struggle out of the 48 car through the midway portion of the run, I'd say the tires are starting to keep up with Hyder quite nicely, running the outside in 1 and 2. And now Dahari searches for 3rd place.
I will say, though, that the 28 is probably lucky he didn't do the Tyler Reddick there.
Yeah, thankfully he didn't flip over and it caused a big mess, not only for the rest of the field, but for some of the grass keepers at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Thankfully, we don't have that situation. We're able to stay green, but this fight for the top 3 continues to level up to the hype that we've been building up, and separation was the key word given by the driver base across the iRacing service when the newest next-gen update came out, because the tires wear out much faster. The aero model plays such a big difference in the way you handle your car, either on offense or on defense. So a lot of the drivers praise that you're not in a super speedway style pack like you were before the update came out. But even then, Francisco, these guys are starting to find their way closer to each other. Dahari peeks the inside on Rivera, and AJ Hyder starting to put a candle up to Malachi Drake for the race lead.
Yeah, he was 2/10 quicker on that last lap, and now he goes to the inside. Well, it's going to be tough for him to complete the pass on this end of the racetrack, but he does clear Malachi Drake and slide up, so AJ Hyder moves up to the race lead. You see Maggio peek to the bottom of Alexander Schumacher off of turn 2, and this is what we were talking about, is he'll try to run the outside, tags the outside wall, but should get the momentum off the corner to stay out in front. Just that much of an advantage that the outside lane has, as now Dahari gets to the inside of Drake. You're going to see tire conservation matter a lot more than it did before. If you use up your tires early, you will pay the price for it as far as losing the immediate positions. You can eventually fall back, but with the gaps that exist, you probably won't lose too much position, and that's not going to matter too much. The caution flag has just come out, and it looks like possibly an issue with the number 19 of Trevor Haley. Further back, I'm seeing him stopped on the racetrack. There's the 42 Wyatt Roberts on pit road, but the 19 of Trevor Haley slow on the racetrack in his Ferrari Chevrolet.
Our first yellow flies 27 laps into the green flag run, and after our first proper lead change of the night, with AJ Hyder leading the field to pit road for the first time this evening. Well, get a look at how this all unfolded with Trevor Haley. This is off of turn 4, and this is a battle with the 78 car up the road. This was just inside of the top 25. And Haley makes the move down low. Bonsek, that's the car up high, that purple and black number 78 car. Bonsek hits the wall, and so far, business as usual as they chase the 3 and 4, and that's where the trouble begins. Hip check contact in turn 3. Haley goes up the racetrack, and that's where he loses the rear end and gets Jason Rajcock involved in that. Nowhere for the 71 car to go, and as Haley slides, Rajcock goes down low, catches the other car of Wyatt Roberts, the Daytona winner, in, and all of a sudden, our first yellow flag erupts after our longest green flag run of the night. Field on pit road, AJ Hyder, Gabriel Dahari leading him in.
And these are going to be crucial stops to see who has a good pit in and out time. We saw tires start to matter after about 20 or so laps, so we know the magic number that they're looking at to try and get all the way to the end. As now there goes everybody into the pit stall. Looks like one driver stayed out, the 17 of Declan George. Apart from that, almost everybody on the lead lap is in. Looks like numerous cars are already starting to make their way out. There's Hyder, who exits with the lead. Dahari in second. Looks like Cody Rivera will take away third. And looks like the 45 of Andretti Robinson will be fourth off of pit road. A couple spots lost for Malachi Drake in the pit stop sequence. But like I said, Declan George, under this caution, at least for now, has decided to stay out in his Milwaukee 17.
And he pitted for just about 2.6 seconds, and that was approximately, well, it says he didn't pit at all, but it still puts a time on his pit box. So Declan George will indeed stay out. We'll see if that is the official call for the 17 machine, or whether he will elect to come down pit road as a second-guess decision. But so far, AJ Hyder leads the field off of the pit lane for the very first time after the first yellow raises after 26 complete green flag laps. It looks like, there goes Declan George. So indeed, second guess decision for car number 17. He will come back down pit road. Hyder will take away the race lead, and we will try to get this one restarted at about lap 31 here from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Well, it's been a very good push up through the field for Jaden Porter after starting dead last, 34th. He has worked his way up 22 spots to be P12 by the time we get this restart. Francisco, what a drive it's been for Porter so far in only his second career SAAC Cup Series start and second this season after making inroads at Sonoma before quickly exiting the server. We know just how strong of a driver Porter is across the K1 Racing Network universe. We've seen him in very different leagues, running very different cars, but mostly being at the same pace and the same level of strength. Porter's going to try and charge here on this next restart.
And he's notably pretty decent at this Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Was contending for the win in the four-wide Las Vegas points race in the last couple laps before getting Arrow loose. And we saw, I believe in the, I want to say it was Slide Job, a different series that was running here with the Next Gens as well. He was very contentious in that race. So Jaden Porter, historically here at Las Vegas, very good, very fast, and he's going to be trying to get to the front to try and win this race. He's got Amir Bascombe, with him as well. Those two have been navigating together throughout this field, and don't look too far back for the other Tootsie Chevrolet and Ethan Fonseca Moreno, who's into the top 15 after a struggling first run.
But they're watching their teammate, Gabriel Dahari, on the outside of the front row, watching AJ Hyder lead him through the Echo Park restart zone. Green flag back in the air from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Hyder with a good jump. Dahari on the outside, and Robinson, the brat car, runs into third in turn one.
And numerous cars were going already to the flat part of the tri-oval, trying to get to the inside to get track position for this restart. One of them, I believe, was the 81 of Nicholas Bauman, was all the way down there and was able to make up a spot or two. Immediately jumping to the outside is Jaden Porter, all the way up to the outside wall. He's going to run that line, and there's a crash strip. Quincy Strawhacker in the 38 of Jamie Wright goes spinning in the back of the field. Caution flag waves.
And it was trouble from the jump, 4 wide off the final corner. And the Bomb Pop Toyota Camry seems to be in the heart of it all. Jamie Wright, who started in the top 5 tonight, is ending up in the incident. He's on pit road. Caution out for just the second time this evening, as they were basically all over the place as they came into turns 3 and 4 right around that last lap. We'll get another look at how this all unfolded. And Francisco, I'm not sure if 4 wide really works in any case of scenario, but here at this Las Vegas Motor Speedway, probably not as well. Here's that 38 car, that red, white, and blue Toyota Camry on the outside, following in the tracks of the 30 car right in front. That's Larry Miles and then Rivers Jones. And it all starts with the 25 car, ends up in trouble first, got loose. That was Shockey Tarpley who stacked them all up. And then, of course, Jamie Wright, the main man, going sideways in it all. Thankfully, no one else vigorously ending up in the incident, but Wright being the sole perpetrator of the caution flag as they stacked up in front.
And just a byproduct of restart mayhem. When you have your best opportunity of getting the track position, you're trying to be aggressive, and everybody fighting for the same piece of track position, as we'll get the onboard here of Mr. Shockey Tarpley. On this restart, you see Michael Walsh just in front of him, who just slowly drifts up in front to prevent the 25 from advancing. And yeah, aero loose. That's probably exactly what happened between that and the cold tires. Nowhere for the 38 to go. Strawhacker was in the outside wall as well, and that's what led to it going around. But you can see it right there, especially when you switch to the rear view, Kenneth. That was a perfect example of aero packing into the car in front of you. Whoever, I think it was Strawhacker that was behind the 25, packed the air on Tarpley, and that's what sent him spinning.
And Francisco, what do they mean by packing the air? Because it feels like with the older generations of NASCAR Cup cars, that term really wasn't used a lot. Aero blocking, maybe it was used here and there, but it seems to have exacerbated much more with the dawn of the next-gen car. So what does aero packing mean, and what does that exactly do to the race car, apart from just getting it loose? Well,
that's basically what it does. The first time I ever heard aero packing was, I believe, a New Hampshire race in 2015. Basically, you get close to the car in front of you, and I'm sure everybody's aware of the bubble that exists between the car in front and the car behind at super speedway. So picture that bubble. When you're at a super speedway, when you pull up to the car in front of you and there's a bubble of air, you push that car in front of you away. You reduce the downforce, you reduce the drag on that car. Imagine doing that in a corner. That's probably not going to turn out well.
Yeah. And the car steps out almost instantaneously. And one thing that we've touted on with this next-gen car, regardless of the amount of updates it receives on the iRacing service, is that it doesn't like to be sideways. And when it is sideways, it's very hard to save it. iRacing has made it much easier to save this next-gen car than it used to be back in the early days of this car on the service back in 2021. But it is still much harder to save. You can't really drive it on the right rear tire as much as you would a Gen 6 Cup car or any of the generations before that. You know, it's kind of funny. You get the new next-gen updates along with the brand new Gen 4 car, two very differently to drive vehicles on the iRacing service. And with this next-gen machine, it's been very much a learning curve for a lot of the drivers on the service, as we'll get ready for the restart here on lap number 35. AJ Hyder, the race leader, he's the only other driver to command the field at the front other than Malachi Drake, who has dropped off to 5th place. He's that inside car on the 3rd row. Cody Rivera's and Andretti Robinson have had very solid beginnings to their Vegas race tonight. And there'll be the two prancing Ford Mustangs there on the inside and outside of the 2nd row. Alex Schumacher started outside row 1 at the beginning of this race. He's dropped off to P6. AJ Hyder, Gabriel Dahari back to the Echo Park restart zone. Once more, lap number 35, and Dahari spins the rear tires. Riveras is going to sling it to the outside. 3 wide to turn 1.
3 wide, 4 wide, goes back to the third row.
And that was Maggio to the inside, got to the apron, and he puts his McDonald's Toyota Camry in the right place. Dahari's loose in turn 2. He's able to save it. Andretti Robinson slides to the P2 spot. Maggio slides to the inside of Dahari to turn 3.
And the mayhem from this restart as Ellis Wells gets into the back of Amir Bascom. They slide up, then they're 4 wide further back again.
Do they stack up to the outside wall? The answer for right now is no. Maggio, Dahari, the 2 teammates, fight it out for third in the entry to turn 1. Porter trying to escape the mayhem on the inside of the top 10. They are still 3 wide behind. Dahari on the outside. He'll make the move to third. So far, AJ Hyder looking in the rearview mirror, and there's a spinner. The 30 car goes to the inside wall. It's Larry Miles in trouble, and there is the yellow flag for the 3rd time tonight. The SAAC Cup Series machine finds his way spun sideways off of the 2nd corner.
What a restart.
Oh my
So much
goodness.
action up and down the field. 3, 4 wide. That is classic Las Vegas. And I'll tell you what, it was fun to watch. But unfortunately for the 30, it did not result in a good situation for him. Wow, I got deja vu from saying that, Kenneth, from how many times that's happened to me lately.
And here's how it all unfolded. Basically in the middle of the mayhem, 3 wide in front, that's the 57 machine of Ellis Wells. Down low is Nicholas Baumann, but it's really around here. Middle 3 wide where that gray and orange 30 car is. And it's Ollie Reeves. It disconnects. There's maybe slight contact there, but it's very faint. And then right behind him is Nicholas Borowski. The 23 car is enough to send that 30 machine of Larry Miles for the spin. He ended up in a 360 spin last week at Sonoma, was able to save it off of the outside barrier and shared a bit of a clip of that on the Discord channel a bit early on this week, but unfortunate beginnings for Larry Miles. A bit of that left front damage will most likely pin him down a pit road alongside a ton of other drivers that will try to either top off or get their cars repaired. But yeah, Francisco, what a restart that was. Everybody all over the place. You know, we talk about separation over the long runs, but you don't see that often when the laps are maybe very short and the restarts go as short as that, maybe 1 to 2 laps. You're going to see that 3 and 4 wide action. And the man to make the move first, pulling the trigger, was Steven Maggio, brave enough to be down there on the apron before turn 1, made the move to the inside on 4 abreast, and was able to escape. He nearly packed air on the 72 car in front of Gabriel Dahari, but ultimately Dahari was able to save his machine, and that fight for third was continuous right until the yellow flag came out off of the 2nd quarter. Boy, Maggio was on a mission, and he just about completed what he wanted to desire.
I had been seeing those moves since the start of this race, guys going down below the white line, which you can absolutely do here at Las Vegas. I believe league rules are you have to wait until the start-finish line to be able to do that, but Maggio wasting no time doing so as soon as he gets past the front straightaway, gained him multiple spots. That restart reminds me of Class Delta Airspace at 8 a.m. on a Saturday. Man, that thing gets busy and really action-packed real quick.
It's packed, yeah, and, you know, I don't know if I can fully confirm that as a non-pilot, but, you know, I will trust your word with that. It is congested in the middle of the field, and that was right around Ellis Wells, Nicholas Baumann, among drivers who either struggled or kind of hung around the mid-pack in our last intermediate race at Charlotte Motor Speedway. This is Baumann's number 81 car, brand new paint scheme for Baumann tonight, the NASCAR on Prime Chevrolet, as opposed to his Baja Blast car that he ran just about 2 weeks ago. And Ellis Wells, who had an early exit to the Charlotte race after getting involved in one of those very quick early yellows that took us a while to fully settle out.
Kenneth.
And we
Looks
will
like
go
we're going single
I
file.
think. Yeah.
Interesting, and I believe it's because of the amount of cautions we've been seeing. Looks like the admins have switched it to single file. Yes, indeed, Cody Riveras has changed it to single file. I'm not sure if that's for this restart specifically, or if we're going to be seeing this the rest of the night, but we're going single file.
It just looks like because of the quickness of that yellow flag, if it's in within 5 laps of the restart, then they will make this a single file restart. That is
Last
a
one
rule
was
in
as well.
some leagues, but for the SAAC Cup Series, we ran with a lot of yellow flags at Charlotte, and we didn't once see a single file restart. They were trusting in the field to go double wide all the way.
Yeah, before this restart, we didn't complete the lap, and we still went double wide. So I'm assuming this is to see how the restart itself goes. If they can get back under green, since we've had 3 successive cautions, maybe that's what drove the decision. But either way, the pace car is getting ready to turn off the racetrack, and this is looking like 2000s NASCAR.
All in the attempt to clean things up. Race control going to keep a keen eye on the field as they're stacking up at the back of the field. Green flag waves for lap 40 here from Las Vegas. Hyder pulls away comfortably. Robinson, Dahari, Maggio, and Drake, the top 5. That's where they're side by side from there on out into the top 10.
You can see just how much it spreads the field out immediately as they all restarted single file, some double wide going on further back. There's the first bit between Riveras and Trafari. Trafari on the bottom should be able to move up into 6th, but looks like the 36 really fighting back on this outside lane just in front of Alex Schumacher. Amir Bascom now behind the 2 Tootsie's machine of Jaden Porter and Ethan Fonseca Moreno. Both of those guys have found themselves up into the top 10 already.
Solid progression for the 2 Baque Albona racing cars, but now they're going to have to complete the challenge of getting up to the front, and Trafari is loose. Got the air up on the rear spoiler from the car behind. Trafari saves it. He's on the bottom, 3 wide. Bascom to the middle. Jaden Porter and Ethan Fonseca Moreno cutting through from the high side, and Trafari nearly had his race thrown away as he got sideways off of turn 2. He's able to hold it together. 2/10 separate Hyder and Robinson back to turn 1 for the lead.
And he gives the push to Amir Bascom to try and keep him and Moreno side by side. Moreno's really working that upper lane, especially in 1 and 2. Gets the run down this back straightaway with the wind factor, if you recall. And he really tries to pull out ahead. Here's the onboard view from Alex Schumacher, good friend of ours from Michigan. As he's been running great all night. Is running in the 7th place position. As there you see Moreno and Porter nearly get into the outside wall. What a move from Porter to the inside, clears Schumacher before turn 1. So what a move it's been for Jaden Porter in this race, who started 34th, and he is all the way up to 7th here on lap 43.
Crucial note from the in-car audio there from Alex Schumacher. Had to whoa up off the throttle. That right front was screaming as they were coming to turn 4, and he had to weigh up just so that he can make the corner without slapping the outside wall. Porter took advantage, struck the arrow to the inside, and Jaden Porter finds his way to a race-high 7th as they're fighting for P5 behind Steven Maggio. Riveras on the high side. That green, number 36, with Drake, that white, blue, and yellow Chevrolet on the inside of the racetrack. Riveras clears for the spot. He'll try to get up to Maggio's rear bumper there off of turn 2. And the opening there for Jaden Porter. What a race it's been for the Tootsie Chevrolet. He's running like there is no tomorrow. The Tootsie's car to the high side. He'll try to get up on Riveras for 5th off turn 4.
He's been making that outside work. He gets to the outside of Riveras. He's been one of the better cars at making that outside work in 3 and 4, running that line, running it that way. As there's 3 wide further back in the field, and contact Ellis Wells and Michael Walls. They're able to hang on to it, and they keep things straight. Porter now moves up another spot. He is up to the top 5 position and peaking on Steven Maggio, which in this series, Kenneth, Maggio is not a teammate of Jaden Porter or Ethan Fonseca Moreno, the 51 and 72, both running for different race teams in this series. But those guys, they get along well. They're going to put up a hard fight, but they're certainly going to try to make this interesting, as these are some of the better cars now up at the front that Porter's contending with.
Most importantly, Maggio running for the Go Inc. squad as part of this SAAC Cup Series. A lot of them run under the BBR banner. For most other leagues, they are good friends off of the iRacing Sim, and they spend a lot of time with each other running official races and, of course, running leagues together. So we know the level of respect is there, but will the aggression be just as high between these 3 running 3rd, 4th, and 5th behind Andretti Robinson, who is putting together the race of a lifetime behind the 48 car of AJ Hyder. So the fights continue on through the top 10. Here comes the number 97 car. Porter with a great run from the outside of turn 2. Maggio nearly shut the door, but Porter says, I'm going to put my nose there anyway. Riveras in the back end trying to help the 97 car fight for 4th place in turn 4.
And there was a slow car on the apron. I believe it was the 42 of Wyatt Roberts, as he has some big right front damage, bringing it down pit road and gets it out of the way of the racetrack. Nearly came back into the racetrack there. At least it appeared so on the live footage as he brings the car down pit road. There's Porter now to the outside of, or the 90 of Malachi Drake. As Porter lost a couple of spots there. And now he clears out in front. Riveras moves back up into 5th, and looking a little bit further back as well, Kenneth, right now, the looks like Ethan Fonseca Moreno in ninth, just ahead of Amir Bascom. Those two rounding out the top 10 as now Porter under fire from Malachi Drake.
So Porter will lead against Drake. There's Schumacher running the outside in 1 and 2. Seems like that secondary lane finding a bit more life as this green flag run has progressed. And most notably, as of these 49 laps before, we would only see that inside lane work wonders. But so far, that middle and high side seem to be the place to go. And it helps out Malachi Drake here off of the final corner. He'll point his nose to the inside and fire for the top 10 position under the 97 car. And up at the front, Dahari works slowly but surely on the 45 of Andretti Robinson. We saw a bit of this in the opening green flag stint before the yellow came out, of Dahari slowly peeking up behind Robinson and, of course, the eventual race leader in AJ Hyder. It didn't necessarily last long against Hyder's number 48 before he would eventually take the race lead. But Dahari seems to have the long run pace. Give him a long enough run, and that's where the tires will start to be in his favor. But Dahari may have to worry about the defending champion and defending Las Vegas winner from Cairo, New York, Steven Maggio, running the high side in 1 and 2. He'll look for the run down the long. Nellis back straightaway. Dahari will hold fourth, and it's 2, 3, 4, all separated by about 0.2 of a second.
And the fight is going to be mostly for the outside on this part of the racetrack. 3 and 4 so much tighter, and it looks like Maggio nearly had it for a moment. You see Dahari slide up on a corner exit. Maggio doesn't take it to the bottom. You don't want to make the move on the bottom in 1 and 2 unless you feel like you can clear the driver in front. And speaking of, there's the move. Dahari goes to the inside of Andretti Robinson, and he clears them, so that's exactly how you want to make the move on this end of the racetrack. But if you go to 3 and 4, you want to have the momentum on the high side with how tight it is on the bottom. Dahari up to P2. There goes Maggio peeking to the inside, but no move being made against the 45 necessarily right then in this moment. And looking back, a little bit of a recovery effort on part of Trevor Haley's underway. He is back up to 16th after being involved in one of the previous incidents that brought out a caution flag. And I tell you this, Kenneth, I don't think I've ever seen a Ferrari paint scheme in NASCAR, at least to this extent, how it's resembled after the Formula One car from this year.
No, but with trading paints at iRacing, you know, especially around that time when the next-gen Ford Mustang, when you could take off the decals of the Mustang and make it whatever car you want, people went wild. They made Alfa Romeo Giulias, they made Ferraris, they made Hondas, they made basically any manufacturer you could think of. And I think this is the least that Trevor Haley could do in his 19 car, as he's under fire from Wells heading into turn 1. But nonetheless, like you said, Francisco, a fantastic recovery for Trevor Haley. The Indiana native is trying to make a way into the top 15, and maybe as we get closer to halfway in this race, he can find a way to turn things around slowly but surely. You're watching this fantastic fight for second, third, and fourth place. Maggio nearly wadding his car up there off of turn 2 as he got to the rear bumper of Andretti Robinson. Car stepped out of line. He had to back it up just to keep it from veering around, and the McDonald's Toyota Camry will stay afloat, at least for the moment. Dahari, the Houston Texan, who's only 21 years old, trying to catch up to the race leader in AJ Hyder, as the only fight inside the top 10 ignites for 7th. Malachi Drake and Alexander Schumacher.
Shuey will take away the 7th place spot there. It's been a great run for Shuey. Hopefully we don't jinx him, but he's really been having a great run here tonight. He's been, I'm sure he's enjoying this one. He's locked in, laser focus, hoping he can get a good result out. So far tonight, it has been exactly that. You see, only the lowest of 8th, so he has not escaped the top 10 at any moment in tonight's race. As Amir Bascom now closest to the back of Malachi Drake, further back to the outside. So move to 21 up to P8, and that's going to be someone we'll see of before this race is over, as we're nearing the halfway point. Amir Bascom slowly but surely will get there, and Ethan Fonseca, who just got a little bit of the outside wall, don't expect him to go too far away, and don't look at now, but last week's race winner, Connor Trafari, in 11th.
And then the winner from 2 weeks ago behind him in Ethan Fonseca Moreno. So it is a lot of big-time names here inside the back half of this top 10. Or is Bascom trying to catch up to Schumacher, who has had a career race so far. Best ever start of 2nd in his SAAC Cup Series career tonight from Vegas. And so far, top 10 for the 25-year-old out of Port Huron, Michigan. He'll watch from behind as the 21 car of Bascom sees Moreno get the crossover underneath Malachi Drake. When did we see this before? 2 weeks ago between the two drivers. Malachi saving until the end. He was able to make it to the checkered flag, but only one spot short of the checkered flag with Moreno right in front. Was able to steal the win off of turn number 4 to get his second victory of the season. He is the Shoei Sportsbook favorite going into tonight's race from Sin City, and it's been a slow but sure progression for the San Jose, California native as Basco makes the move to the inside on Schumacher right in front, and we single file out for the first time since our inaugural green flag run that lasted about 26 to 27 laps. So, Francisco, here, should we expect the long green flag runs to take us to green flag territory and green flag pit stop territory, or would you in fact see another quick caution coming out in the middle of this? Because it seems like in the middle of these runs, when the tires are at their most vulnerable, that's where we're seeing the most mistakes come about from the field.
Well, right now we're about 30 or so laps into the run, so we're seeing tire wear really start to show its place if you wore them out too quickly. But I think most of the field is generally sprung out enough that we might be okay, but you know, all it takes is just any given moment for that to happen. But I think a lot of these drivers have kind of realized that we're still not even halfway into this race, so they're going to try and play it nice and try to get to at least a set of green flag pit stops, and then from there all things can change. Which, speaking of green flag pit stops, we're probably more so about 15 to 20 laps away with the 75% fuel fills. There goes Maggio now to the inside of Andretti Robinson here for turn 1, and it's going to be much like the same move that Dahari put on the 45. Robinson tries to fight back. He'll try to get up to the back of the 51, but 51 does not get loose, so move Maggio now up to third as Dahari slowly tries to creep in within half a second of race leader AJ Hyder, who's been in control ever since he took the race lead over. And now Maggio is going to have to deal with a little bit of the looseness from being in front of the 45 until he can break away another car length or so in front. Bascom, though, has been on the move the last couple laps. He's now up to 6th.
And it's a good-looking race car as well. That yellow Submarine, sponsored by Pennzoil, a car that's been adorned by many a Penske driver in the history of that long-tenured team, but obviously very known for the yellow paint schemes they run here at Las Vegas because they are the title sponsor of the NASCAR Cup Series race. That's why you see the big Pennzoil 400 logo on the inside of the infield grass as you come out of the final corner. It's a paint scheme that Joey Logano has won with a couple of times. That bright yellow machine has gone to victory lane several times here at this mile and a half, so Bascom trying to ignite some of that magic as he finished runner-up here last season, runs in P6 and slowly catching up to that Live Golf Ford Mustang of Cody Rivera as Hyder continues to lead. And this is only Hyder's third start this season, made his first start in early June in Michigan, and there is the yellow flag. I believe Zachary Bonsack, there he is, sideways in turn 2.
He played a role in one of the more recent cautions, and there he is sideways in turn number 2. We'll try and see if we get a look at what led to his demise that brings us under the caution here at around the halfway point in this one. On pit road, and there you see, it looks like there was contact there. I'm not sure who that was, but it was just a little bit of contact that sends him in a lazy spin. He never goes around, but slowed down enough with oncoming cars that caused iRacing to throw the caution there, not the admins. And as we watch here from the outside, just looks like a little bit of netcode and then a slight overcorrect. I'm still not sure whose race car it is exactly, but nonetheless it sends the 78 around, and it will bring us and everybody down pit road. And that was the 23 of Nicholas Borowski that made the contact.
And I'm not sure if it was even contact, Francisco, from that
I don't
angle.
think so either.
It looked like there was still an air bubble between the two cars, so it appeared that Bonsack just got loose there. It was a quick snap, and he overcorrected, and the car just ran up the hill, went sideways. Thankfully, Bonsack escapes any severe damage to his car, but yeah, I'm not sure if there was any contact at all, Francisco. It seemed like that was air at play there between the two machines.
I think there might have been just some slight contact on the initial part of the corner that sent the 78 sideways, and then he overcorrected. But I don't think it was anything either one of them could do. As there you see the race off pit road, and it looks like it is AJ Hyder that will hold off Gabriel Dahari, who had a quick stop here to try to beat the 48 off of pit road. And Andretti Robinson moves up the way, and looks like a bad pit stop here for Steven Maggio, who comes off in 10th.
It was a 14.2 second stop, but a 42.7 second pit lane time, which is just about 2 or so seconds slower, and maybe about 4 seconds slower than some of the fastest pit stops here.
And he had a faster pit stop. He had a 13.5 compared to 14s all the way around. So I'm not sure what cost him all that time on his own getting in and out of pit road, because he had a quick stop.
It might have just been overshooting the pit box. We've seen that happen a lot with the brakes on this next-gen car. So Maggio drops off considerably. It is Hyder, Jahari, Robinson, Bascombe, and Jaden Porter, your current running top 5 as we move on through halfway here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And just to finish my thought on AJ Hyder, before that yellow came out, he's only made 2 starts prior to this. He made his first jump in Michigan. That's where he ended up 34th. Big time trouble for the 48 there. But then made a recovery drive just last Thursday. Showed up for the Sonoma race, the first of the 2 West Coast races we have this season in a row, and ended up right behind the eventual race winner in Connor Trafari after rolling off in P6. So for Hyder, it hasn't been necessarily a consistent show up through the SAAC Cup Series this season, but Hyder definitely proving his worth tonight from Las Vegas, has led a majority of the laps. And if it's not Malachi Drake, it's this man right here, AJ Hyder, commanding the field as we'll get ready for the next green flag restart. So Hyder will lead this field. Dahari, Robinson, Bascombe, Porter, the top 5. And then behind them, you'll find Cody Rivera, who's had a solid race this evening. Trafari moves back into 7th. Schumacher is in 8th. We talked about Steven Maggio. That poor pit stop puts him 9th. And then Malachi Drake, the pole sitter, rounds out the top 10. Possibly some chaos to expect, Francisco, on this restart.
Yeah, that outside lane has a couple of teammates and allies in the first handful of rows. It'll be tough to beat the 48 on the jump, but it could certainly allow them to try and get a numbers advantage to work together to get up to the front on this very restart.
So here we go. Back to the Echo Park restart zone. Field in the hands of AJ Hyder. And there's rear tire spin. Makes contact with Gabriel Dahari, and they're going to be side by side as they enter turn 1. Rare mistake for the 48 car.
Dahari has an advantage. He's going to get down on the door. At the same time, Shuey didn't get that great of an initial launch, but there's Dahari now with the run on the outside. Hyder goes all the way down to get away from the side draft. There's a car on the inside struggling 3 wide further back with Trafari, Riveras, and Porter. As there you see, they're still side by side at the front of the field. Porter ripping the outside, able to move up into 5th. As there's Amir Bascombe and Andretti Robinson sitting behind your race leaders, as Andretti Robinson will push Dahari clear.
Robinson gets Dahari at the front, and Gabriel Dahari becomes the 3rd different leader here from Las Vegas. Near contact between Hyder and Robinson as they squared off of turn 2. Bascombe, Porter, and now Maggio running those 3 cars inside the top 6. And Gabriel Dahari, what a charge it was after the rare mistake. And there's a car sideways. It is Ellis Wells in the middle of 3 and 4. And he spun around right up against the outside barrier with Brandon Thomas, the 7 car. Yellow flag out, lap 69.
And there was an incident just a bit ago as well. And around turn 1, I wasn't able to locate exactly who it was. As there you see Ellis getting it back underway, facing the right direction. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like there's too much damage on that race car, so maybe some slight repairs and it should be good to go, but he's going to lose the track position here, and they're going to have to deal with it. What a restart. That was another one of the chaotic restarts. Not nearly as much 3 and 4 wide, but just overall chaos at the front of the field with the contact on the restart. As there you see, yeah, it looks like maybe a little bit of air was stacked on Bauman by Michael Walls, and unfortunately for the 57, just the wrong place at the wrong time. And not just Ellis Wells there, but of course the looks like that is the, not sure who the Hertz machine is in this race, but and that is Brandon Thomas in the 7. But those 2 were just in the wrong place at the wrong time from the air packing from the 24 and the 81. You'll get a good look, Brandon Thomas. There's the Michael Walls, just looks like the 81 was a little bit loose, and then the air didn't exactly help, and Walls just slightly drifts up into the 57. Very lucky he doesn't have any more damage there if you're Ellis Wells.
You take a peek at that replay into turn 3, and Bauman was loose from the onset with the car right behind in Michael Walls. And then, of course, that 24 machine of Walls trying to get out of the way of the near-spinning Bauman moved up a half lane to a full lane, and that's exactly where he catches Ellis Wells. And just from the look from that Hertz machine of Brandon Thomas, obviously no real estate to get clear of the incident. It's only between the inside or the outside wall, and really there's no space on the inside nor the momentum to make a move and get away from the spinning Ellis Wells. So we'll be under caution once again at around the halfway mark here from Las Vegas, Nevada, and our new race leader, Gabriel Dahari. Francisco, I'm sure we'll have to dial up the replay machine once again and take a look at that restart, because we saw a bit of tire spin through the several restarts beforehand from other drivers, but we had never seen it from AJ Hyder or the race lead control car. But it happened to the 48 machine as they were going green. Dahari got hip checked a little bit, but it wasn't enough to send him out of whack. And right about there is when he was able to take away the race lead and never look away with some help from Andretti Robinson. So as we get the 1 to green signal from the iRacing official pace car, it was a very catastrophic situation for Hyder. And here's a look at it as they came out of turn 4, Francisco. That blue and light blue number 48 car is the man we'll watch. Those rear tires go lifting up off the ground as they get to the zone.
Yeah, here's a slow look at it. As right there, they're in the zone. Looks like he gets going right about there, and it starts to wobble on him. Look how much it jumps sideways before he gets into Dahari, and that stacks up both lanes, and it's what gave Dahari the opportunity to try and challenge for the top spot.
And now Hyder will have to face this restart from the inside of the second row. First time we're seeing that 48 car in dirty air for basically the entire night. We've seen him control the field, but like we saw in the opening stint of this race, this car is handled well under long green flag circumstances. Hyder's been able to save his tires well, so maybe it's just back to that mindset, although it's been a little while since he's had to lock in that much in terms of cutting through the field. Dahari will lead us back to the green with Andretti Robinson on the outside lane. Hyder and Bascombe will occupy the second row. Maggio keeps on to fifth. Good progression from the bit of mayhem on his last pit stop under yellow. And fellow friend Jaden Porter on the outside of row number 3. This time, no problems for Dahari. Green flag waves. Schumacher waves to the outside of Connor Trafari. Robinson going to try to hold off AJ Hyder for second to turn 1.
Looks like Amir Bascombe struggled to get the launch down. He wasn't right up to the back of your second place starter. Schumacher tried to take advantage, going to the outside to try and make up some positions as they stack up. Looks like Rivers Jones has found himself up into the top 10 for the first time tonight. Porter will drift up high, trying to see if he can use the outside wall. Moreno's doing the same thing a little bit further back as they continue to go 3 wide. Couple cars bouncing off the outside wall, but as we complete this lap of the restart, Dahari still out in front, but Hyder in tow.
Beautiful scope at just how close this field is. There's Porter on the outside, that black and pink Tootsie Chevrolet, and that blue, white, and yellow and red, number 26 of Rivers Jones, just running inside the top 8. Rivera's there on the inside, running 6th. Bascombe and Maggio in their fight with Andretti Robinson. That's all the way up to 3rd place on the exit of turn 4, as AJ Hyder would try and chase down Dahari by the lap of 2 car lengths in distance between the 2 cars. Here comes Maggio down low in turn 2.
On the inside, trying to keep it down there, as now the outside will have the advantage with the draft with Amir Bascombe, as there's now side by side for the top spot. Dahari and Hyder going at it once again for the top spot. Hyder trying to make the bottom work, is going to drift up a little bit. We'll see how much either one decides to take a little bit of side drafting action, because that could invite the 45 automatically into that battle.
And he played a key role in Dahari's move to the race lead. And all it took was just a bit of draft there off of turn 4 to help that B-movie car surge up to the front. But there is no help from Robinson. It is a Sisyphean pull at the front of this field. Dahari and Hyder remain gridlocked at the entry of turn 3. No clear advantage by either Chevrolet. Hyder steps out. Dahari rolls forward. The 72 car will lead him back to the stripe at lap 76. Hyder is still there, planted to turn 1.
Just unable to get away from one another, and Hyder's been doing a good job of making that inside work. And there you see off the corner now, gets towards the quarter panel, will try to side draft to 72, going into the corner and seeing if it gives him an advantage, but this is where the inside is just not that favorable. Dahari tried to put it down through the center, but nearly drifts up into the outside wall. They remain door to door, but Andretti Robinson has not been able to close the gap to play a role into this fight. Bascombe into fourth with Riveros in fifth. They haven't really changed in this. In fact, there's the 72 now, getting a little bit of a run through the center, and he does clear for the top spot finally.
Hyder has played the role of hunter this entire run, but he may just become the hunted, because here comes Robinson. There's Amir Bascombe, that's silent number 21 in the background running fourth. Riveros tries to hold off Steven Maggio there in the final two corners, but it is really crunched up between this top 7 or so, all of them within at least half a second as they come back to turn 1. Hyder will try again. Dahari will aim the defense there in the first corner, but up through the bumps, Hyder's got the run. He'll be through to the outside. He gets shut at the door and put in the wall off turn 2.
Just ran out of real estate and got into the outside wall, but he found the grip on the outside, so we'll see if he's able to try and put that to use over these next few laps to try and close the gap back up. He tags the outside wall again, but now he has a little bit of momentum. So here's the onboard with Dahari as he's looking back, trying to see if he can put his car in the right spot, and look at him go immediately to the bottom as, oh, and he's going to get a little bit of loose from the air, maybe, perhaps, as Hyder also got sideways in the process. Luckily for those two that they're racing each other for third.
And all in the attempt to play that famous arrow blocking game. It's what worked there. Put Hyder in the outside wall in turn 2. That's because Dahari had washed up right in enough time, right as Hyder was about to get to the outside of the B-Movie Chevrolet. And Dahari cool, calm, and collected as he'll lead this race with about 54 laps to go. Hyder with no proper response. Amir Bascombe has slid into third place with the loose Robinson on the inside. Opens up the space for Cody Riveros to make the move on the high side. There's Maggio right behind. And the top 6 still within the grasp of 0.8 of a second as Rivers Jones and Jaden Porter try to settle things out for 7th there off of turn 4.
And the track temperature has actually risen compared to the start of the race, up to 123 degrees as opposed to the 121 it was when we first started. So even though it's only 1 o'clock in Las Vegas right now, it is still very much hot and still producing some very scorching temperatures.
And look at that wind. It's going up to nearly 21 miles an hour. That was about 4 to 5 miles an hour more than what we saw last time we checked in with that weather graphic. Winds blowing heavily to the southwest now instead of the south. So if you're looking at any contributing factors to the way these cars are handling, the wind's got to be one of them as they come around this 1.5-mile circuit in Las Vegas. AJ Hyder is starting to mount up another charge on Dahari in the battle for the race lead. It's now another car length between these two Chevrolets, with Amir Bascombe and Cody Riveros not too far behind, running about 0.5 to 0.6 of a second right behind the 72 machine of Gabriel Dahari. It has been a fantastic race tonight from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. We have yet to see a green flag run prompt green flag pit stops yet, and we're still far away from now. 18 laps in the going for these guys at front. So Dahari, Hyder, Bascombe, Riveros, and Maggio, the current running top 5, and they have yet to skip away from each other. And there's the yellow, Brad Sawinski, second time we see him spun, and this time with more damage on the inside wall.
Possibly some suspension damage for the 28. Looks like he was a little bit sideways when he was getting going. And we'll see what happened this time with the 28. We saw him spinning through the grass earlier in the race. That did not bring out a caution, but now this one will, as we'll probably see some pit stops here, as the tires do has a little bit of age of them, and looks like he was possibly just sideways and did a good job of saving it, but then right here turns down the racetrack. What an avoidance there by Trevor Haley. And he was off the racing surface by the time he looped it around as such, Kenneth, so I'm interested as to how the iRacing surface itself determined this one to be a caution. There's the tap to the outside wall, gets sideways, locks it down, does a good job, but then right here comes back around. But by this point, he's off the racing surface, but maybe it's because Haley was down there. Who knows? Yeah,
but he comes to a stop there and spins around the car on the apron of what is the entry of turn 3. And remember, we saw that Redwood Chevrolet spun around off turn 4 in the middle of the infield grass down this main trialable section of the racetrack, but of course because that was underneath the racing line and because he was able to save the car from any trouble, the yellow did not come out. It's been a tough race for the 28 of Brad Sawinski, and we'll have the field come down pit road after an 18-lap green flag run. A lot of these drivers staying out on their old set of Goodyear Eagles, and they're coming in this time. Dahari will have the chance to lead them off of pit road. It's a close race between himself and AJ Hyder, but Dahari will get it nearly 3 wide as they were running for 3rd place behind, and Amir Bascombe steals away 3rd off of pit lane.
And Bascombe has quietly been putting himself now in the top 5. Another quiet run has been Rivers Jones, who's gotten himself up to 6th in the process. So a couple of quiet runners are starting to trickle their way up through this field in the second half of this race with just under 50 laps to go remaining. And there's still probably plenty left to watch before this one is said and done.
So for right now, we'll run beneath the iRacing official pace car. Let's see if we can try to dial up one of the drivers as we're getting ready for the green flag in just a couple of laps time. We'll touch in with the number 21 machine of Amir Bascombe. Amir, you got a copy?
Hello? Yeah, what's up?
All right, Amir. Well, it's been a very strong race for your Pennzoil Chevrolet tonight. You're in a race high 3rd after what's been kind of a chaotic race after the restarts. What have you made of this new car update and how it's felt tonight from Las Vegas?
It's very different from what I practiced yesterday. It's a lot more loose, but in the dirty air, just, kind of breaks tight. It's very inconsistent, I can say that. But Vegas has always been one of my better tracks, so I kind of forced myself to get used to the inconsistency. It wasn't good in qualifying, obviously P30, so tried my best to just manage the tires and drive up through the field, which obviously P3 can't really get any better than that other than P1. So, I mean, right now it's driving fine. Hopefully we can stay up here till the end of the race. I feel like I have probably, if not the fastest car, one of the fastest cars on the track. So,
well, hopefully, Amir, there's not that bird that you hate out there on the racetrack, but it's been a solid race for you tonight. Best of luck on the restart.
Thank you, man.
So that is Amir Bascombe as he runs in 3rd place, will actually occupy the outside of row 1 with the choose cone rule. AJ Hyder decided he wanted the inside, so that is free space for Amir Bascombe to move up, but we'll still have to wait for Gabriel Dahari's signal to move to the green flag. Not a bad decision by Hyder to watch the leader right in front. Most of the time, that inside car on row number 2 gets a better jump than that outside car on the front row. Back to the Echo Park restart zone. Field in the hands of that bright yellow and black Chevrolet of Dahari. And there is that move by AJ Hyder under caution, paying off tenfold into turn 1. Cody Rivera might peek through the middle 3 wide as they come into the corner, but Hyder gets 2nd away as he chases Dahari.
And there was contact between Porter and Andretti Robinson on that restart. As there's Rivera now split through the middle of Bascombe and the 51 of Steven Maggio as they go 3 wide for the 3rd place position. And there's Rivers Jones trying to join the fight. Connor Trafari in the bottom of Andretti Robinson. They are all up there as Amir Bascombe tags the outside wall in front of Jones. And Rivera will try to clear for the 4th spot as Dahari continues to lead from Hyder.
And could this be the moment that the defending champion and defending race winner of Steven Maggio moves his way and has his breakthrough moment? They're still 3 wide behind in the rearview mirror. Rivers Jones up high, Robinson in the middle. Down low is Porter, not giving the fight up yet as they enter turn 3.
Porter making the bottom work. It's not a line he's used a lot here tonight. Jones and Andretti Robinson nearly making contact. They remain 3 wide for a full lap or more so as now Trafari joins this fight. We're seeing where he decides to go in all of this to help himself move up. Robinson clears both of those two to go back up into the 6th place position. Porter now in a bad spot as now Jones gets by. Trafari goes to the outside of him. And further up in front, Steven Maggio now up into the top 5 and Maggio sideways.
And he's able to save it for the most part. Hanging on to the apron is the 51 car.
Shades of Kyle Busch.
And Steven Maggio holds on to his Camry and will stay green.
Shades of Kyle Busch from the Budweiser shootout. What a save.
He stayed on the apron, and as the field got away without any other skirmish, Maggio sees his race nearly eliminated inside the final 34 laps. As here comes Rivera to the inside, charging to AJ Hyder, and this fight may be far from over inside the top 3.
That save deserves another look.
So this is it. Maggio running inside the top 5. Andretti Robinson right behind. And Maggio was just loose from the beginning of the corner. Had to save it down to the inside. Look at everybody get away as they scurry to the outside of the racetrack. Maggio hangs on. And I'll tell you, Francisco, this car is not an easy one to save. Maggio did a whale of a job wheeling this race car to keep it from trouble. Now the yellow flag is going to come out. This time not for Maggio, but it's Nicholas Badimlik in his Shakalicious Ford Mustang.
Looks like trouble off of turn 2. That's been most of Calamity Quarter here tonight. And if I tell you that the culprit was air packing, it wouldn't surprise you. It looks like the 17 just got close to the rear of the 60, and that was enough to get the 60 sideways. And that's exactly what happened to Maggio as well, believe it or not. That was Maggio getting sideways from the air packing. It just gets you loose like that, and you can't do anything about it. The 60 goes for that lazy spin and does a 360 before heading in the right direction, but right there, the 60 of Nicholas Badimlik, he's a victim of the air packing, much like Steven Maggio, but it ended 2 different ways.
And just a similar instance to what we saw with Sawinski earlier on in this race, just with less contact to walls on the inside and outside. It was a great job by the 60 car Badimlik to save that machine from trouble. But it was just, it stepped out of turn 2, ran all the way to the entry of turn 3, and that's where the car comes to a crawl, and that's where the yellow flag comes out. Not because he's underneath the apron by the time the incident ended, but because he was spinning across the racetrack as the caution was ensuing. So we'll be under the yellow once more, as the drivers have put in just 8 laps on their stint, and it has become all-out warfare, Francisco, between Dahari and AJ Hyder. What a race we've seen between these two. However, Hyder has yet to find that breakthrough moment. He hasn't been able to skip through the clouds and make his way back to the race lead. Dahari has played sustainable defense. If you're that 48 car, you spent a majority of this race up front, and now you got to fight against a very aggressive Dahari. Is there a way to get around him? And if so, what do you try to do differently than Dahari in the final 21 laps?
Well, we saw him try a couple of times to go around the outside, and it gave him the momentum. So really what it comes down to is, can you get a big enough front off of turn 4 to get side by side with Dahari, whether that's getting to his outside or his inside. But you have to make the move from running the top in 3 and 4. That's clearly where you're going to get that big enough of a run from.
We'll see, though. Dahari, in what is his 12th overall SAAC Cup Series start, captured the pole just last week at Sonoma Raceway and led a good amount of it before Connor Trafari showed up on the scene, and we saw that bit of contact in turn 11 in our pre-race show leading up to the green flag tonight. And that's exactly where things changed hands, and the control never got away from Trafari. Ended up leading the 43 out of the 51 laps en route to the victory. Dahari ended up inside the top 5. And you think of the last 2 races between Charlotte and Sonoma, back-to-back poles for this man right here, the Houston Texan, who's only 21 years old, has had a best career finish of 3rd in his career throughout his SAAC Cup Series run. That was at Michigan in early June. So most of his accolades in his SAAC Cup Series career, his highlights have come from the last several weeks. And in search for his first career win could very well come tonight and could become another different winner in the long history of SAAC Cup Series racing here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. There has yet to be a repeat winner here from Las Vegas. Maggio continued that trend last season in the finale. Dahari could very well continue that streak of different drivers to come to victory lane here in Sin City. Dahari has Riveras to the outside of row number 1. Amir Bascom and AJ Hyder will occupy the 2nd row, and just like we saw in the last restart, looks like Hyder liked his decision to stay to the inside and push over to 2nd once they got to turn 1. Rivers Jones and Andretti Robinson, 2 drivers having some great races tonight, specifically Andretti Robinson, who's been at the front since the drop of the green flag. They'll be on the inside and outside of the 3rd row. Well, let's do it again. Dahari on the front row will lead us back to the green flag restart. Keep in mind the rear tire spin. Green flag.
And there's the move from Ollie Reeves, who timed that restart good. Now he's outside 3 wide with Jaden Porter. Goes all the way up to the top, though, so he's not going to end up actually making an imprint on those positions. Bascom now trapped on the outside of 3 wide as Trafari goes up the middle.
And there's where they make their moves to the top 5. That Chris Lilly designs black and green Chevrolet of Trafari in his search for 2 wins in a row. He'll get to the outside of Ethan Fonseca Moreno. Meanwhile, Hyder still building up his momentum on the race leader in Dahari, Trafari, Bascom, Jones, Moreno. Now it's 3 abreast again to turn 1. Bascom through the middle.
Michael Walls also in the middle of 3 wide, a little bit further back with Malachi Drake and Jaden Porter. Porter nearly tags the outside wall. They're making contact. Michael Walls goes for the spin.
He goes to the inside wall. I believe he's able to save it for the most part, and now they're crashing behind. Several drivers in it. Walls is sideways and stalled in turn 3. And once again, we will be at the beckoning call of the iRacing official pace car as the ZHP car of Michael Walls, who's had a solid race, has seen this one turn sour.
He did a good job of hanging onto it, getting no damage, and it looks like most of the field did as well. So I'm actually surprised the caution came out. Maybe it's because of the fact that he stopped completely, but otherwise he kept that car out of harm's way. There was the contact of Porter to the outside wall, and him and Walls just kept making slight contact, bouncing off one another. Walls has it essentially saved, but of course as he stops on the racetrack right around there, that's enough for the yellow flag to wave.
And there was near trouble right behind in the field, getting away from Michael Walls. Here's Brandon Thomas, that yellow and black Hertz machine. There's Alex Schumacher right in front. Thomas is slowing down. He's sideways, and he saves it right on the apron. So a great job by Thomas to avoid any extra calamity as they were recovering from getting around the sliding Michael Walls. Solid job, though, Francisco, to avoid further damage for Walls there. It's a typical conservation method when you get involved in a crash, is just to lock up the brakes and just try to hope the car gets to a stop without anybody getting into you. It's a predictable slide when you're all 4 tires locked up and hard on the brakes. So Walls does a good job of escaping that. He will hit pit road, though, alongside several others, and Walls will get the damage repair. But there is another driver on pit road. That is Steven Maggio, who's seen this race also turn pretty bleak for the 51 car. There is some right front damage on the New York natives machine. Thomas, Walls, and the typical suspects are on pit road, but I'm curious, Francisco, to see where all that damage came from. When it comes to Steven Maggio, slow pit stop early in the race, then the slide that he saved, and now a bit of damage that he has to work with for the rest of the night.
Didn't even know about the damage on the 51, so I'm curious as to how he might have gotten that one, but also it's going to be a tough road to recovery from here, so he has to try different things to make up the track position after losing it all on that half spin that he had on the apron of 3 and 4. Luckily, he still has some time, but it's going to be tough to do so. That's why he bolted on those new tires. Going to be restarting in about 27th. Maybe he can learn what Jaden Porter did earlier in the race, put that to good use here.
Well, it took, what, 26 laps for Porter to get into the top 15? What is there, like 26 laps to go?
About 40. It was about 40. It's like about how many laps are left right now.
Yeah, so maybe enough time, as long as we stay green, though, for Maggio, who's been one of the strongest cars on the longer green flag stretches. But with what we've seen tonight, plenty of yellows at poor times. We've seen long green flag runs cut in the middle by some of those cheeky yellows. And then when the restarts get hectic, that's when the yellows start to come in. And then it seems to repeat itself over the night. Very different from what we saw at Charlotte, where all of the attrition came in early in that race. Remember, we had 45 cars qualify for that Charlotte race 2 weeks ago, our last mile-and-a-half race of the year. And in that sense, we only had 40 cars make the field, but still, it was a hefty amount of race cars on a racetrack that, compared to a lot of other intermediate tracks, is very narrow, drives very differently to tonight's event here at Las Vegas. And then at the end of the race, midway through, is when things started to open up and the green flag strategy took control. We may not see fuel saving happen until the end of this race just because of the way this restart will come about. We'll cross the line for lap 100. There will be 34 laps to go. And we will figure out whether this one will stay green to the end or whether we will have a dash to the finish line. Gabriel Dahari, once again, will lead us back to the green flag. Riveras on the outside, Hyder and Robinson will see the bright yellow and black Chevrolet make the move in the Echo Park restart zone. Once again, solid getaway car. The 72 makes his way to the front. Green flag waves once again from Las Vegas.
There's Porter peeking to the inside, 3 wide on Rivers Jones. has the spot. A little bit of contact between Jones and Porter. They get sideways. Porter able to hang on to it, but he's going to end up in a situation when they're almost 4 wide.
And behind them, that's Duncan Fall, the 61 machine on the inside of the racetrack. Near contact. Robinson slides. He'll save it in the middle of 3 and 4. Here comes Moreno up high. The Tootsie machines working together on the outside of 3 abreast to turn 1.
And they're trying to make the outside lane the one that goes to carry all that momentum through. Moreno able to clear that for that position ahead of Andretti Robinson. Trafari trapped behind the 45. Hyder had a mistake off of turn 2. He's lost a lot of time to Gabriel Dahari, and now Basco trying to make the move for second.
You'll go to the inside of AJ Hyder. Tough move out of turn 2, and now he'll have to play defense. The Pennzoil machine rockets down low. Hyder crosses the nose, stays up front. Dahari's ahead by 4 car lengths back to turn 1, and the Tootsie cars are putting their way in the middle of this thing. 5th and 6th place, Moreno and Porter diving for the position in turn 1 and 2.
They worked with each other to get by the Rivers Jones machine. Jones had nothing he can do about that. But now they find themselves in this top 5 mess with Rivera's, Bascom, and the 48 of AJ Hyder. But in the process, they continue to have to race themselves.
Oh,
as they
car
get single
spinning
file
on the
once
inside
again.
of the racetrack, all the way at the back of this field. And the yellow flag waves it as Quincy Strawhacker. Saw the smoke
Trouble
come
once
out of
again.
turn 4, and no damage to Strawhacker's safe light Toyota Camry. But once again, it's near the racing line enough. Race control will throw the caution.
And I think it's once again a situation of air stacking on the car behind, and that got him sideways the whole way. And much like you said, just sat enough on the racing surface for it to deem a caution. So another instance of air packing resulting in an incident. Here's the replay. The 12 car will never get into him. It looked close, but he never got into him, and that's just the air getting the 49 upset.
Well, independent of this spin here in the middle of 3 and 4, look at where Strawhacker was when they were down the back straightaway. That is Malachi Drake, Christopher Robinson, Alexander Schumacher, Ollie Reeves, Ellis Wells. Look at that, 3-4 wide as they're coming down the back straightaway. And look at that initial contact between Drake and Strawhacker. But you're right, Francisco. It's again that case of packing the air on that rear spoiler. The rear downforce goes away. Strawhacker doesn't anticipate it, and so he slides all the way to turn 4 and does a great job of not coming back up onto the racing surface where there is still a bunch of traffic running, and parks it right around that Echo Park Automotive Restart Zone logo at the inside of the apron. So luckily Strawhacker is able to get away without any significant damage, but once again, this field will be at the mercy of the pace car, and we'll have way more drivers on pit road, this time led by Malachi Drake. We'll try to top off here with 29 laps remaining.
Well, I mean, fuel is not a concern even as of the most recent pit stop for most of the race leaders. It's about 50 laps, and that's right around the edge of being able to get to good to go with the 75% fuel, even if the race went green. And now we're having several caution laps, so I don't think that'll be an issue as far the fuel, that is. So probably just a tire gamble, trying to see if they can do something different with the tire levels. That'll be interesting to watch. And as I just saw, race control, Kenneth, has switched once again back to the single file restart. We saw the last time they did that, it resulted in a lengthy green flag run, in hopes of trying to do that here again.
So a similar call from earlier on in this race, and with the restart coming to green not that long ago and the yellow coming out maybe the 3rd lap after, then race control will decide they want to clean things up, and they'll single file restart this one until maybe the end of this race if we continue to get those quick yellows, but perhaps it will last into the end of the race with a long green flag stint. That will just come down to the playing of the aerodynamic game, and of course the tires coming to play, which is what Malachi Drake and several others were trying to gain there at the back of that field. I guess with the position they were in, Francisco, at that point, you got to play and chase your losses, right? You're on the back of the field. You're thinking to yourself, well, if this turns on its head, maybe I could have the upper hand with having fresh tires. Maybe there's a way that I can cut through the field, especially now that we're single file. I can have a bit more of an easier way around if I choose the outside or the inside on the racetrack. I'd say maybe not the worst call in the world if you're Drake and those drivers at the back of the field and guys that have had this race turn around in the negative side. So they're going to try and get this jackpot here in the final 28. I mean, would you chase your losses here if you're them? I don't know.
I don't think this is the last yellow flag we see.
Well, you know what they say, the house always wins. So whether the house is Gabriel Dahari, whether the house is the Speedway throwing its wrath on the rest of the field, we'll just have to try and answer that question over the next 28.
I'll say this. I want to be the driver inside that pace car.
Yeah.
That's probably good job right now.
They're probably getting paid a bag. I'm not going to lie.
I mean, it depends. Do you get paid by the caution? Do you get paid by the caution laps, or are you paid for the whole event? Because if you're paid by the whole event, then
I think if you're the iRacing official pace car driver, you might just get paid by commission. I don't know if there's a salary, a fixed salary.
If I get paid by commission, I will absolutely volunteer to do Martinsville races.
You know, the leagues have tried to do pace cars before manually. I don't know the success of that, but I mean, we'll talk about that a little bit later. Green flag back in the air. Single file restart at the hands of Gabriel Dahari. Perhaps a chance for AJ Hyder to build up more of a even run to the race leader without any pressure in the rearview mirror. But so far, that yellow submarine of Amir Bascom holds serve in third. Riveris, Porter, Moreno, your top 6 off of turn 2.
And it wasted no time in the back, going 3 wide already. Michael Walls and Nicholas Borowski going 3 wide in the 20th. Back there for position as there's nearly contact with Nicholas Bauman and the 23 of Borowski. You're watching towards the back end of the lead group. All the action going on here with drivers that have just made green flag or just made caution flag pit stops for brand new tires.
And the leader off of pit road then, I believe, was Malachi Drake. He's going to try and move his way up through the field, but he's all the way mired back in what is P27. Look at this fight for second place. Hyder breaks free. Riveris moves up to the front. Bascom tried the charge to the inside, and there were 3 wide right behind the 72 machine who leads this race still. Riveris back to second in turn 1.
What a move by Riveris to get up to second. Hyder slides up in front of Bascom. Bascom's going to get back to the outside.
Oh, and Hyder blocked. They're near the outside wall.
Oh, and he's not clear, but he forces it up anyway. Bascom's not going to like that.
And now Bascom touches the wall. He wants to get to the outside of the 48 car, but no can do as they come off of turn 4. Bascom nearly at the end of 3 wide between Moreno and Porter. The 2 Tootsie Chevrolets still fighting inside the top 5.
And there's the 48 all the way up to the very outside who was trying to take the line away from Bascom. Bascom now on the inside slides up and makes a little bit of contact with Hyder. They're rubbing each other down the back straightaway.
It's physical racing here at Las Vegas. Now is the time to go all in for the final 24 laps of this race. Bascom lunges down low, sends the dirty air to Hyder's Chevrolet, and that's a move clearly made for third. Riveris is pulled away. He's about 4/10 off of the race leader. And just like that, Francisco, the single file restart did what it was supposed to do. Separate the field in the first few laps, and Dahari comfortably in the race lead.
But does anybody have anything for Gabriel Dahari in these closing laps of the race? Clearly they are able to battle amongst each other, but just such a good restart for Dahari on all these attempts that it's got to take a lot of something for anybody to really make a big run. Fonseca Moreno, who's up towards 5th. Guys, Jaden Porter and Rivers Jones behind him that are hungry to take away that 5th spot. Unable to really close the gap on Hyder and Bascom as it stands right now. We'll see if Riveris is able to mount some kind of a challenge. It looks like Hyder might have scratched the wall.
It's the onboard look from Ethan Fonseca Moreno in the best place that we've seen him all night long after rolling off in 20th tonight. And the Charlotte Motor Speedway winner has had to work a little harder than then to come away with a position like this. And still a long way to go for Moreno to try and capture his 3rd win of this season in the SAAC Cup Series. He's slowly reeling in AJ Hyder, who is trying to stay up front with Amir Bascom in the 21, Cody Riveris and his 36 car, and all of them chasing that B-movie Chevrolet of Gabriel Dahari in search for his first career SAAC Cup Series victory. Best run right now, at least for side-by-side action, is here inside the top 10. That's Shockey Tarpley in the number 25. And Ollie Reeves, his number 31 on the outside.
And Bascom slowly trying to close the gap on Riveris in the meantime, trying to run that second lane as he tags the outside wall this time, just unable to really put consistent enough laps to actually close the gap. But he is slowly getting closer to the back of the 36. He continues to run the outside in 3 and 4. We could see a battle for second here on our hands soon, as most of the top 10 has gotten single file even through that battle. A little bit further back, Ellis Wells on the comeback effort inside the top 15 with Brandon Thomas. Those two have had some trouble in the last couple laps. And how about Steven Maggio there on the screen, who's almost back inside the top 10. Remember, he's on slightly newer tires as he nearly gets into the 25. A Tarpley to the wall.
Maggio on 13 lap fresher tires than the competition around him. He is the best running fresh tire car, if you will. Obviously, the freshest tires will go to Michael Walls, Nicholas Badimlik, Quincy Strawhacker. The list goes on. Down to Malachi Drake. They're now on 10 laps in their stint. But it's not far away for Steven Maggio, who's on lap number 18 on his set of Goodyear Eagles. He'll force the outside here on Tarpley as they run for 11th. And Maggio, despite being at a race low, about 17th further on back as he hits the outside wall and nearly spins it out of turn 4, or turn 2 rather. And Maggio has slowly tried to come back in this race as Duncan Fall and Brandon Thomas will make a move on the outside. 4-car stretch inside this top 11.
Yeah, he's not going to be happy about that with Tarpley there, as he got put into the outside wall. Might have some suspension damage, definitely wheel damage from, it was a big hit to the 51. That's probably going to take him out of winning contention.
And there's Wells, that bright pink Chevrolet Camaro moves to the inside of Thomas, makes it 3 abreast for a moment. Maggio backs out, and all of a sudden that McDonald's machine plummets to 15th place after in that fight with Tarpley got into the outside wall with a bunch of aggressive racing. Thomas running the boards there off turn 4 with nowhere to go but to follow in the tracks of that 25 car. Never mind, nearly make it 3 wide as they're charging back to turn 1, and Thomas will back out. This 4, now 5-car group will settle out as they head back to the corner. The gap between first and second is at about 0.7 of a second. Dahari has pulled away nicely, although Amir Bascombe is hunting down Cody Riveras. And then AJ Hyder is hunting down Amir Bascombe. And they'll maybe go side by side now for the spot. Hyder makes the move to the inside. He'll settle through the 3rd. And now the challenge with 17 laps to go, Francisco, is catch that 72 car.
Well, he has to get through the 36 of Riveras first, and that's not going to be an easy pass. Riveras has ran top 5 for most of the evening. And you see Hyder struggling to get off turn 2 there, and Riveras builds a bit of a gap and actually has a great turn 2 because he closed in about a 10th or 2 on Dahari in just that corner. So Riveras, he's not going to be one you can just write off of this one. He's going to put up a fight till the very end. Rivers Jones gets past Jaden Porter for the 6th spot.
And the onboard look with Hyder as he aims to catch up to Riveras, and a lot of that search for grip will happen here in turns 1 and 2, where the bumps are so disastrous in the middle of the corner, especially on old tires. And this hiccup by Riveras just may open the door here for car number 48, slinging down to the inside. Bascombe in the background with potential to help either car here off of turn 4. Riveras will play defense, and now Hyder makes the move down low. Solid entry to turn 1 he'll have with 14 to go.
And this is exactly what Dahari wants to see, as those two behind him battling each other. Unable to clear. Riveras is trying to mount the outside move. Looks like the 48 gets a little bit sideways. They're nearly making contact off of 2. Riveras is still there.
And they'll keep this gridlock battle for second all the way to turn 3 in your right. The only driver benefiting off of this is the man leading this charge at the front now by nearly a second. Gabriel Dahari sees 13 laps to go from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And don't look now, Ethan Fonseca Moreno is there. He's inside the top 5 with a chance to gain some more before this is all said and done.
And Jaden Porter's dropping off a couple of positions. He's down in 9th, racing Ollie Reeves and Connor Trafari. It's been a struggle for the 97 the last couple laps, but Moreno's trying to see if he can get a better than a top 5 finish here tonight.
Moreno, after winning 2 straight races, didn't show up for the Sonoma Raceway event last week for undisclosed reasons. We're not really going to delve into that here on the K1 Racing Network. But Moreno was not involved in that Sonoma race, a place where, you know, we expected him to be the favorite.
His
a
home
California
race.
native, his home racetrack on the road course. Definitely really loves racing at Sonoma Raceway in the sim and enjoys going there in real life for the Cup Series races. But it's a bit surprised we didn't see Moreno there. However, here in the second race of this West Coast swing, putting up a solid performance with Bascombe up at the front. 2 good friends driving Chevrolets tonight. Bascom and Moreno will try and fight for 4th place as they catch up to Cody Rivera, and now ticks down the lap again. 11 laps to go from Las Vegas, Nevada, and the gap is at 0.6 of a second. Still faster is Dahari.
Moreno ran that outside lane really well in 3 and 4 in that last lap. We'll see if he tries to do it again. Bascom appears to go to the outside to try and mount the charge on Rivera, so Moreno goes low, and it actually gives him decent enough grip. Bascom has the run on Rivera. Rivera will give him the outside.
And we've seen that outside be the basic position you want to be in, especially here in 1 and 2. Forces Rivera down to the inside where those big time bumps are, and Bascom can make the move, put more throttle in sooner. Car does get loose up there on the progressive banking here at Las Vegas, but it's more than enough to get the Pennzoil car to 3rd place. There is now a second nearly separating Bascom and the runner-up car right now in AJ Hyder, who as of the moment is in his best career finishing spot where he ended up last week at Sonoma Raceway. AJ Hyder in just his 5th career SAAC Cup Series start across his multiple races between seasons 3 and now season 4. Has still time to catch up to Gabriel Dahari for the lead as Moreno makes the move high side on Rivera, and the high tide seem to be in favor of the Tootsie car in turn 3.
The crossover move by Rivera is what gave him the bottom. Moreno tags the outside wall and trying to load up the momentum driven off the high side. He still gets somewhat of a run, but it's not nearly as big. He peeks to the outside as Rivers Jones and Andretti Robinson go side by side for 6 behind. And slowly but surely, AJ Hyder is reeling in the 72 of Gabriel Dahari, but does he have enough time?
And the last time by, Hyder set a 31.615, Dahari a 31.651. It's still just about half a second between these two Chevrolets, but Hyder is experimenting. He's finding grip, and that time had a good run off of turn 4. We'll see 7 laps to go from Las Vegas, Nevada. It's only a conversation between these top 2. It is not a group effort between 3rd on back. Moreno beats Rivera for 4th place, and the onboard look from Hyder as he chases the race leader. And a mistake there in turn 2.
A little bit of a mistake, but the gap still stays close to about half a second from Dahari back to Hyder. And he clearly has been a better car on the long runs Hyder has today. And if he is able to get closer in the draft of Dahari, we'll see just how much of a gap he's able to pull. You see on the front straightaway, it feels like it's closed in a little bit. But Dahari, at least to right now, has kept up the defense and is doing a good job.
And you hear that in-car camera from AJ Hyder, just how soon he's getting to the throttle in the middle of turns 1 and 2 as that car oscillates through the bumps. It's a smoother approach here in 3 and 4, and this time Hyder does not experiment with the higher lanes. He wants to stay closer to that inside wall, or the inside line rather, and he just about hit the outside wall, racked up there off of turn number 4, and that's going to lose him way more time with 5 to go.
That's going to hurt his chances here. It puts him at nearly 1 second back, lost about 4/10 just by that one mistake.
It's a case of saving the right front tire and the question of how much Hyder has left in the tank. If he can make this gap up, now 7 car lengths separate these two machines with 4 laps remaining at the stripe. Hyder potentially going to finish runner-up for the 2nd time in his SAAC Cup Series career, while Dahari will see gold for the 1st time in his career. Several miles left from Las Vegas, and still the difference at 0.8 of a second.
All it could take is one mistake, but Dahari has not been one to make those today. He keeps it at about 9/10 or so. Still out in front, but anything can happen in these final 3.
There is lap traffic up the road, but it may not be a proper way of conversation in terms of the context of the end of this race. Dahari still has a lot of space to go, and all he needs is 3 more perfect laps. Amir Bascom is slowly starting to peek into the foreground. He may try to take away 2nd from Hyder if he has enough time. Moreno in the background by 4/10 of a second. He'll run 4th. Cody Rivera in the 36 car, running inside the top 5. 3 more miles remain from Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and this race remains in the hands of Gabriel Dahari. 2 laps to go.
And how about Ali Reeves and the charge he's been putting on late in this one? He's battling right now for the 5th place position with the Cody Rivera machine.
And Andretti Robinson in that conversation as well. What a race it's been for Robinson over the course of tonight. Has run top 10 all night long, and the same goes for Rivers Jones, who may just walk away with 8th place should things continue to stay the same over this next lap. Gabriel Dahari will see the white flag out of turn 4 with still 7/10 to spare back to AJ Hyder. And Dahari, who through his 2 seasons now running in the SAAC Cup Series has found strength, has been able to finish as high as 3rd in his career, but never has he won a SAAC Cup Series race. Tonight, after taking the lead, he's been miraculously strong. He's been able to play masterclass defense, and as he rolls through 3 and 4 for the final time from Sin City, it is all jackpot for Gabriel Dahari. Stands tall at Las Vegas. First career SAAC Cup Series victory.
And a big wreck off of turn 4. Multiple cars piling in. The 30, the 9. Several cars stacking it up, but they're going to come across the line.
And that's for top 15 position. Larry Miles, Connor Trafari, and the rest of them wadded up. But Gabriel Dahari, for the first time in his career, is a winner in the SAAC Cup Series. Amir Bascombe giving the celebratory tap. There's Moreno, a good friend of his, also going to give him the celebratory touch. And what an effort it was for Dahari to stay up at the front, avoid any of the further pressure from AJ Hyder, who was the dominant car of the day up until the halfway mark of the race. And for the first time, Gabriel Dahari will get to call himself a winner. From Las Vegas, Dahari enters victory lane. And this is going to be a celebration very well earned.
Paul Settle shot victory lane for Gabriel Dahari for the first time this season. Well-earned win, was able to hang on there in the closing stages, drove away from AJ Hyder, didn't make the mistakes, and now he reaps the benefits. Let's see if we could get a replay of that last lap crash that we saw in turn 4 from the person who probably had the best view of it, Mr. Steven Maggio here. As they go into turn 3, there's the contact between Trafari and Fall. Gets Fall sideways, sends him into the 25 of Tarpley. They're 5 wide, and they start wrecking each other off of turn 4. Maggio, because of that, comes away with a 10th place finish. How about that? 5 wide in turn 4.
That is just mayhem as they're charging the white flag. And, of course, you saw that carnage there off of turn 4. But all the while, Dahari was clearing away the best driver in that final stint. And he continues his celebrations here from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. We talk about consistency. We talk about striking when the iron is hot. Dahari has never finished a race outside of the top 10 this season, and it's his first win of the year. We'll try to take this all the way to an Eliminator Chase appearance and hopefully run for the championship later this season. But let's get a look at the full unofficial results here from Las Vegas after 134 laps and a grueling 200 miles, where Dahari wins it by 0.6 of a second over the strong AJ Hyder. Give credit to these two guys for the effort they put in this evening. And AJ Hyder, 1 spot short, but still his best career finish in his Cup Series career in the SAAC machine. Amir Bascombe ends up in 3rd. Ethan Fonseca Moreno charges up to 4th place, with Ollie Reeves solid move up through the field in that final segment, ends up 5th. Cody Riveras and Andretti Robinson, give them credit for the runs they've had tonight. 6th and 7th for them. Rivers Jones back in 8th in his number 26 car. Jaden Porter from basically dead last tonight to a top 9 finishing position. Huge credit for Porter this evening. And Steven Maggio, who was a part of that 5 wide melee as they were coming through the final corners, rounds out tonight's top 10.
11th will go to Nicholas Bauman, who also made it through the 5 wide mess. Michael Walls recovers for 12th. Trafari, who finished 13th after all is said and done, with Larry Miles in the 14th spot. Nicholas Badumic will finish in the 15th spot. Shockey Tarpley in 16th. Ellis Wells in 17th. These are some of those drivers that were involved in that incident in turn 4. Ellis Wells in 17th. Quincy Strawhacker in 18th. Malachi Drake will round out 19th. And Brandon Thomas is able to come away with the top 20 finish.
Back in 21st is where you'll find Trevor Haley's number 19 car, Duncan Fall, who was involved in that big crash there off turn 4. He is 22nd. Austin Mitty and Nicholas Borowski, they're going to be 23rd and 24th, with Declan George in 25th. Alexander Schumacher had his best career SAAC Cup Series start in P2 tonight from Vegas, but he ends up 26th. Joseph Went in the 89 car is 27th. Brad Sawinski, 2 spins earlier on this evening, puts him 28th. 29th for Dale Beck, and 30th for Zachary Bonsek, who was the first car a lap down or more tonight. Wyatt Roberts is 5 laps down in 31st. Christopher Robinson, 6 laps down in 32nd. Jason Radcock, 33rd. And Jamie Wrights is the final car in our 34-car field from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. It is unbelievable what we've seen tonight, from all the cautions to the great green flag racing. And now we get to join Gabriel Dahari as he takes his first career victory, and his first, of course, of the season. Let's get a word with the driver who ends up winning it all here from Las Vegas, Nevada, and hopefully he will join us in the broadcast booth shortly. I don't think he's in any of the voice chats, but we'll give it a quick second. So I guess we'll try and figure out how these things happen. But Francisco, your thoughts after tonight's Las Vegas race in race 5 of the season?
That was a great battle for multiple positions, not just for the lead, but all around the field for most of the evening. Just, you really saw the next gen car here with a high track temperature as opposed to the cold temperatures we saw at Charlotte, and what it did to these cars, the drivers were able to do all around, and what it led to with the tire saving. We saw tire saving play a huge role, and it really excites me. It really makes me feel confident with the package that we have here. It probably feels like the best the next gen has to offer at this point in time. Still not my favorite race car, but it's certainly, at least from the outside perspective, as much as it is from the driver's seat, it's certainly just a little bit more enjoyable, and that's really all we can ask for, Kenneth, as I believe we now have Gabriel Dahari with.
Yeah, this next-gen car has certainly lived up to the hype on these mile-and-a-half tracks, and we are joined now by Gabriel Dahari. Your first career SAAC Cup Series victory comes tonight from Las Vegas, but it took a lot of effort, Gabriel. You led a ton of laps. You had to fend off a hard-charging AJ Hyder. Just give us your overall emotions after this win and after all of the work you put in to get here.
Man, AJ was super fast. I think in the end it just came down to whoever managed to get the lead, because he could just sort of aero block and defend like super well from the front. But I didn't think I was ever going to get the lead, because he was in front of me, and it's pretty hard to pass. But he messed up that one restart, and I was just trying super hard to get past him there. And thankfully for me, I was able to get past him.
We've seen over this season consistency straight up from your end since Daytona. You haven't finished a race this season outside of the top 10. That includes 2 consecutive poles leading into tonight's race from Charlotte and Sonoma. Not the pole tonight, but I think the win is way more important. How long overdue is a win like this felt for you in your SAAC Cup Series career, given all that you've had to face?
Man, I feel like at what was it, Michigan? I was going into the race expecting it to be like a hot race, and it was going to be slippy and slidey, and it was not. And I felt like I had a lot more potential there. And coming to Vegas, I was like, oh yes, I love Vegas. I've always loved Vegas, because you just on the right rear, and the dirty air doesn't really affect you as much whenever you're loose, and definitely feels good to win.
So you get this win, I think, at a pretty good time. You guys are nearing the midway portion of the regular season. 2-week summer break after Indianapolis next Thursday night. So what is going to be the game plan here as you guys move forward and to try and keep that momentum rolling high from tonight's dub?
Yeah, I'm just gonna have to lock in for Indianapolis. It's definitely gonna be very packed up, super easy to pack air on someone, even if you're not meaning to. There's probably gonna be a lot of air packing cautions for that race, honestly. I know there were a couple tonight, but I'm seeing we got Iowa after that, after the 2-week break. Definitely looking forward to that. I feel like I'm pretty good there as well.
Well, Gabriel, this win, long overdue, and I'm sure this one really feels good from a track like Las Vegas. Gabriel, on behalf of all of us here at the K1 Racing Network, congratulations on the W. But before we send you off, anybody you want to give a shout out to or thank for tonight's win?
Shout out Stephen Maggio and Rivers Jones in my party, or in my my call for the race, keeping me company. And shout out to Cody for putting the show on, and shout out to you guys for broadcasting.
Well, Gabriel, we really appreciate the time, and on behalf of all of us, congratulations on the win here from Las Vegas. Hopefully we'll talk to you soon, but enjoy the dub. You've earned it.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Gabriel Dahari gets his victory. The beautiful face we get to see behind the screen of the number 72. He captures the win here from Las Vegas. Let's join the man who finishes runner-up tonight. A certainly strong performance for AJ Hyder. And AJ, I mean, you put on a whale of a show, led a ton of laps at the beginning of this race, and almost felt like you would never look back. And you gave it your all there against Gabriel Dahari. What did you feel was missing there in those final 15?
Track position and definitely a few less mistakes on my end, specifically the one restart. I forgot which one, but I spun the tires a little bit. I think I doored Dahari a little bit, and he was still at my quarter panel by the time we got to turn one. And yeah, that outside, man, it's crazy fast, especially in 1 and 2, and that's what Dahari was able to do. As soon as he got by me, there was really no other way for me to get by him there. It was just all about who had the lead there and what line you were running. But yeah, it was a pretty solid day for us, I guess. It does kind of show, though, that we do at least have some pace on the ovals. I was hoping that would be the case entering, but I just had no idea going off of how Michigan went. But yeah, it's pretty good. Just tired of finishing second, man. Really tired of it.
Well, we know what happened last week where you ended up runner-up there to Connor Trafari, and in just a couple of starts to your SAAC Cup Series career, you've been able to really make a difference between last Thursday and tonight. What does it say about your level of skill and the competition you faced here in this series? And I guess what is to expect as we come to Indianapolis and continue to weave our way through Season 4? Because through the last two, we have seen fantastic stuff from you and your number 48 car.
Yeah, again, I mean, it just shows we got speed in this car. I'm pretty sure I said it last week, but I just don't run this car a lot. I'm not very comfortable with it. But I think this race did show that at least I've kind of got it figured out a little bit. It's just there's some things I got to work on my end. But yeah, I'm hoping we get a win sometime soon.
Well, now you look forward on the rest of the schedule. Indianapolis is next. I know there's a pretty hefty 2-week break, so it'll be a bit of time off for you guys. But you guys come back to Iowa. Lots of good racetracks as you guys move over to the Eliminator Chase. Anything that stands out to you particular, any tracks that you see and you're kind of like, yeah, this is going to be my place?
Not really sure, but definitely looking forward to Iowa. I don't know if it's 2 or a week off, but yeah, I'm looking forward to Iowa, especially with the new scan. I'm interested to see how that's going to race. Yeah, other than that, I just want to thank everyone at Outlier Speed Co., Express Esports, everyone at Spartan Motorsports brought a really fast DuPont Chevy.
Well, AJ, on behalf of all of us here at the Cable Inter Racing Network, congratulations on the second place finish. I know the win is probably coming very soon for you in that 48 car, but we'll see you in the rest of the field at Indianapolis next week. But congrats on the P2.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
So AJ Hyder brings his Chevrolet to second place. Let's see if we can try and dial up the third place driver. That is the yellow submarine of Amir Bascom. We talked to him actually earlier on in the race under yellow, but it appears he did not show up. So we will, in fact, I guess, wait it out and see what happens from there. But really a fantastic race between a bulk of the drivers at the front of the field. And for Gabriel Dahari capturing his first career SAAC Cup Series victory after lots of hard fighting with some of the drivers around him. And now we are joined by the third place car, Amir Bascom. The yellow submarine puts his way into the podium. Amir, we talked to you earlier on in this race. You gave us your thoughts then. What are your thoughts now after a P3 effort?
Always disappointing to come here and not win, just because it's probably my favorite track in the NASCAR schedule, just in the schedule in general. But you know, P30 to P3, can't call it bad. Little upset with it. You know, I felt like I pushed a little too hard in the last stint, which burned up my right front. And then the dirty air just doesn't help. So I couldn't catch up to AJ or Dahari right there. But you know, Dahari was up there all race, AJ was up there all race. Those guys were fast. I knew there'd be issues. So, I mean, good race for me. I don't know. I can't speak for anybody else, but I think I had a good race. I think I put myself in the right positions to win the race. I think I put myself in the right position to drive up the field, obviously. And I can't really ask for more than a win, but just kind of a bitter taste in my mouth right now for losing. But it's all right. We'll take a P3 and we'll move on to Indy.
Definitely a solid comeback, though, after starting as deep in the field as you did alongside Jaden Porter. You guys were really able to comfortably move your way through the field. You, Jaden, and a bunch of other drivers, alongside myself, were a part of the test sessions the day that the iRacing build came out. So you and a lot of other guys, including myself, had a chance to get a feel for this next-gen update for the first time. Kind of get that upper hand on a lot of the other drivers. But 2 races down in the 1.5 miles here in this SAAC Cup Series, what most have you learned, and what kind of things do you still look to improve on as this series moves forward and you guys tackle a bunch of different tracks, specifically after that 2-week summer break?
Yeah, I think tire saving has gotten a lot worse for the right front. I think right front saving is what I need to work on. Just I think I'm good at it, but I think if I wanted to start actually competing how I want to compete, I need to save my right front, or just learn when I need to save and when I need to push. Just balance that out. A lot of different tracks coming up. A lot of tracks that I feel somewhat confident at. Definitely not Indy. Gonna have to put in some work there. But other than that, I feel like it's a good stretch of different tracks. And I think I'm pretty good at short tracks too. So we got a few short tracks coming up after the break, and hopefully just put myself in good positions again, because I feel like it's all about positioning now and when to save your tire, especially on the longer run. So hopefully I can put myself in good positions to get good finishes. You know what I mean?
Well, Amir, I think tonight is definitely a good setting here. 30th to 3rd, even though it's not the win that you wanted in hand, it still is a solid performance. Good points to your back pocket as you guys move forward to the racing capital of the world next Thursday. But before we let you go, Amir, on the top 3 finish, anybody that you want to thank for the performance?
Thanks to the full Zenith team. Those are my boys. We put in, I don't want to say a lot of practice, but we definitely had a few sessions previous to the race that helped just the strat going into this, and listening to everybody else struggle kind of not made me smile, but kind of made me a little confident, considering I knew what I was doing before when I went to the race. So yeah, shout out to all the Zenith boys, all the SAAC boys, all the SAAC admins. They put together a nice host every week.
Well, Amir, on behalf of all of us here at the Cable and Racing Network, congratulations on the 3rd place finish, and maybe we'll see a win in Indianapolis next Thursday, but it's a 3rd place tonight. Congrats on the top 3 finish, and we'll see you guys at the Brickyard next week.
All right, man. Thank you. See you then.
Amir Bascom ends up 3rd place after a hard-charging effort here from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. The Yellow Submarine doesn't get the checkered flag, but it is still a solid finish regardless. So we move forward. Next week is the 2.5-mile Indianapolis Motor Speedway, our largest track of the season, if it's not Daytona, that kicked off the regular season earlier this year. That coverage comes your way next Thursday here on the Cable and Racing Network. That is July 3rd, right before Independence Day weekend, with July 4th and the oncoming Chicago Street Race for the NASCAR Cup Series. From then on, we take a 2-week summer break before we return to Newton, Iowa. Still looking to see if that is the repaved Iowa Speedway that we are going to anticipate then, but that will be the host at that point. Texas Motor Speedway thereafter. Our all-star race, Texas to Kentucky Speedway for then. And then, of course, we'll start the Midnight Madness, the middle of the madness in the season, and then the Eliminator chase not that far away as we look to decide a champion at the end of the season at the Virtual Auto Club Speedway. So on behalf of everybody that makes it possible here at the SAAC Cup Series, for Cody Rivera's, the entire admin team, and everybody that makes it all worthwhile, and after everything here tonight, Gabriel Dehari ends up the victor after a ton of great racing and a lot of things to uncover still as we walk away from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. On behalf of everybody at the Cable and Racing Network who makes things go around, for Charlie Byer, Keelan Belsha, Eli Comerford, and for my colleague in the booth tonight, Francisco Bacallao, I am Kenneth Bueno, saying so long from Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and a big congratulations to the race winner tonight for the first time in his SAAC Cup Series career, Gabriel Dehari. We'll see you all at Indianapolis next Thursday night.